There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug groove.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests
Yeah, you look a lot better.
Abraham Hotline, Goldberg-Law.
It's always very dark in there. It looks a lot better.
Oh, I like it's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
Your life. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton on this Cinco de Mayo. It's also a national day of giving, and goodness knows the charities need it on this May 5th of 2020. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, and you could be looking live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch TV channels. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
I'm very good, and I like the idea of this National Day of Giving because I think we all deserve to get something, some more than others. Some of us might just need a smile or a hug, but others need a lot more. I'm all in. I'll tell you again today, David. I know no one wants them. Giving them out for free.
Giving what out for free?
Hugs.
Just you've become a hugger.
Yep. That's what this has done to me, David. The good, the better, and the best, and I want to hug people. That's all that's happened.
It took a worldwide pandemic, and Mark Miller became a hugger.
That's it, when you're not supposed to.
Hot damn. Exactly. Glass half empty for 49, 50 years. Now all of a sudden the world's coming apart at the seams. You're standing on the street corner going, do you need a hug? Would you like a hug?
Right here.
I feel like I want to give you a hug.
Bring it in.
I know we're supposed to do the social distancing thing. Turn your head to the side. I don't know what to tell you here. Bring it in for the big fella.
And not turning your head aside and cough. Just turn your head.
Right, just turn your head to the side. That's all. That's about as intimate as my wife and I are getting these days. It's like I asked her the other day, "Can I hug you?"
I know,
and she pondered it.
That is a tough spot you're in, David.
It is. She thought long and hard about it, and she literally looked at me kind of like, "Okay, but just this once."
Because my wife is a hugger, and it just kills her to come in the door and feel like she's got to go clean herself before she can hug my daughter. It's like, let me go change clothes and get out of that stuff, and then I'll do my hugging.
Have we all had a job in which it was the job in which you got undressed in the garage or in the hallway or, wherever it was? Have we all had a job? It could have been when we were young, we were a teenager, a summer job. But have we all had a job in which you came home? It could be bartending, back in the days in which you could smoke in the bars. I mean, Mark, I've had two jobs in which it was just, you stripped down. You really did when you came home. You're like, yeah, there's no need to bring this into the apartment or what have you. Construction, working Garden State Brickface during the summer, and then bartending. The one place was a lot smokier than the other. Low ceiling, Mark. That one you came home, you were an ashtray.
The low ceiling will factor heavily into what you smell like when you leave that bar, particularly in the days when you could fire up a heater inside the establishment.
I love watching some of these shows on Netflix, and they got the TVMA, okay? And one of the things they put up there, smoking.
Do they really?
Yes. You never noticed it with those?
No,
I had 5 things that they're warning you about.
Well, and that doesn't have mature language. That is really mature language.
Right. Graphic language, sex, nudity, smoking.
And as violent gets. I mean, they figured out new ways to kill people on that show.
Graphic violence. It didn't say violence. Sex, nudity, graphic violence, smoking.
Wow.
Language, smoking. That was the 5 that they put up there. And I'm like, smoking? Smoking. Remember we were doing the show in our first act, and my daughter got written up in middle school for chewing gum, and they had like the lines as to offenses, and literally felonies were in the same group as chewing gum. I mean, murder was actually listed on the sheet, and in the same grouping was chewing gum. And I thought, one doesn't belong here. It's kind of like the TVMA. Sex, nudity, graphic violence, language, smoking.
Yeah, I would think that would be in the PG-13 category.
Yeah, I would think that wouldn't make the warnings. But
I will say it is one of the things of the new normal, and I'm saying it, David, that if you want to get me fired up,
wow,
when they come out of the store with their mask and then lower their mask to fire the heater. I've seen it a handful of times now.
Oh, you have to record it next time.
Well,
we got to post it.
I know, but it is, you're walking a really thin line there of pulling out the video camera to shoot someone who has pulled their mask down to fire up a heater. Because let's be honest, David, if they're going to pull their mask down to fire a heater, don't you think that whether they're male or female and you start filming, there's a 50% chance they're coming right at you?
I know, but there is a 50% chance that they will even start laughing at themselves when they look at you and give you the nasty look and go, come on now, think about it. Think about it. That's funny.
It's spectacular. I saw it at Costco yesterday, and I just went, you lowered your mask to fire a heater. That's special.
If you were coming towards me, if you were that person, and you're coming out of the store and I was going in, and I was walking, if I saw you coming, I would stop and start applauding. I really would. And it wouldn't be 6-foot par putt clap either.
No. It would be 12, 14 foot. Right.
Yeah. No, it'd be 15-foot par putt. Oh, yeah. Hey, hell of a four.
Yeah, that's a good four.
Hell of a
That's
four.
a good four, sir.
Look at you. Just brave 45 minutes there in the store and the whole deal. Look at first thing you got to do is a heater.
Give me the heater. Good. Give him the heater, Ricky. It's just baffling. Yesterday, and I know this will probably freak your wife out if she's listening, but yesterday was Maddie's first outdoor move. Mother's Day Sunday. So we had to go get a couple of gifts yesterday. Okay. So Maddie had her mask on. I had my mask on.
First time she's ever worn a mask,
yep.
Right?
But she's, I'll go, Dad, but I'm going to wear the mask. Okay. Very matter-of-factly. It's like, well, that's good because, well, you have to.
Right.
But I appreciate you.
I'm glad you're volunteering because otherwise this is a not-so-benevolent dictatorship when it needs to be.
But that in the first instance of my daughter buying something with her own cash. Now, she's been getting money for a while and been putting it in her...
She's got $53,000 saved up. I mean, in 6 years between, the grandmothers and, oh my goodness.
Well,
I mean,
checks go, fortune. Right, checks go right to the college fund. But any cash she has on hand, and the cash had mounted recently. And so much so that she wanted, more than anything for her birthday, a wallet. Because she needed somewhere to put her cash.
This girl after my own heart. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, but see, women's wallets go in their purse, David. And when they have a wallet that's that big, like yours, you need a purse to put it in.
There's nothing wrong with that. Tom Brady's got one. All right. I mean,
he's also got Giselle. But
well, that's true, which makes the man purse look a lot better.
Right. And when he needs a place to stay, he goes, Derek, Jeets, can I use your place till I find something I want?
Or he can just crash over at Leftwich's place or the neighbors or whatever.
Right. But we went in to Target and she pulled out, she bought her mother a gift, which I told her I would pay for, but she's been desperately wanting something for herself. So she bought her first toys with her own money.
Look at that.
And boy, I'll tell you, when you're doing 6 feet distancing in line and you got to tell the lady behind you, hold on for a second because she's paying for this with her own cash.
This could take a while.
Thank goodness I had a lady who was a grandmother because she just found it cute. You get the wrong person behind you when you take the 2 people who have 5 items and turn it into one person with 1 item and one with 4. That can cause a lot of problems in these days.
Exactly.
But I fortunately had the lady, and she's pulling out all these $1 bills. It was fantastic.
Final question before we move on. Have you or the wife dipped into the kids' cash yet to get you through a tight spot?
No.
No?
Did with the first son, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it happened with Jake. I was in a different world back then, but no.
But I mean, just even you're running out, you didn't have enough cash on you, you just reach into the stash, you grab 20, you're like, oh, I'm got to remind myself I got to replace this.
Nope.
No?
Nope. I have my own stash for that now.
Gotcha.
I have two stashes. I have family money stash and I have golf gambling stash.
Yeah, my mother would dip in to my cash, my caddy cash in the top drawer there. She would just come in. She would just tell me. She'd walk in and go, listen, I'm taking $60. I get paid Friday. Okay. You know, what are you going to do? I mean, you know, she's paying the rent and all.
Exactly.
I mean, sure. Okay. I mean, I will say, though, that happened to me a little bit later on in life. It was a little different. It wasn't really my cash, but I was responsible for it. It was my first couple months working at Waterman Broadcasting. And for some reason, they put me in charge of the money. And we went to cover the Sugar Bowl, Florida State and Virginia Tech. And I did the same thing with the cash in the top drawer. And it was Severson and a cameraman. And it was the three of us for 4 days in New Orleans. And I literally just said to the both of them, hey, make sure you write down what you take and, you know, give me an idea what you're spending it on and just bring back receipts. Oh, yeah, sure. No problem. We were about $800 short when it came time to do cash and receipts and what have you. So I missed.
You can't expect Severson to remember everything at that point. He's in New Orleans.
Here's the funny thing, though. They brought back a mile's worth of receipts. The problem was they went to like a 5 and dime store. I mean, everything was $1.99. So they're going out spending serious cash, and I've got, you know, 18 feet worth of receipts that add up to $74. You know, so that was a problem right there. Never mind the fact, you know, they're all dated and time stamped 1 minute after the other. I mean, you know, how am I going to, you know, I'm 2 months on the job. I'm going to get fired, you know. All right. So that trip cost me money.
Well, you know what? You got me back at the Super Bowl.
Wait, did I or John?
Well, both of you, because I paid for everything and never got a dime back from the old place.
Yeah, but that wasn't our doing. That was the old places. So you can't blame that on us. How can you blame that on us?
Well, I mean, you lost some money
yes,
on that one. I'm not blaming you. I'm just merely stating facts that I ate.
That's true.
Everything on that trip.
You ate. That was Colts Bears Super Bowl.
Yes.
That was our first Super Bowl as a show. The three of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Right.
Well, David, yesterday we had one of our larger voted on poll questions, and I'm not surprised because it had to do with life right now in Southwest Florida. And you had a number in your head that you felt if we got to, you would feel pretty good about public opinion, if you will, towards going out. And we did get to that number.
Really?
Barely. Okay. 40.2% of you said that you will go out to dinner this week now that we have reopened in some way, shape, or form. Just a little less than 60% said that you would not.
So 60-40.
Yeah.
60-40 no, but 40% was a yes. And that I would have lost the Card Sharks. I would have come in with a lower number. I thought it was going to be more 2-1 than 60-40. If I own a local establishment, that depends on people coming out and sitting down and spending some time and spending some money, that would make me feel pretty good, actually, because that's higher than what I thought it was going to be.
Now,
higher than what you thought it would be.
About right where I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
I thought we'd be about 60-40. It's about where I had this. And the difference, though, is I don't watch a lot of local news. You know that I watch in the morning when we have it on in the background of the show. But I made a point to watch the local news last night. Just kind of wanted to see what was going on. And based on the stories that they did, you know, man on the streets.
Right.
The restaurants were empty.
Well, it was a Monday. I mean, I just got to, you know, let's see what Friday and Saturday and Sunday look like.
Yes. To be frank, David, let's see what today's like. In Southwest Florida, we need zero excuses to go get drunk on any day of the week. But Cinco de Mayo is one of those excuses that we jump up and down for. It is right behind St. Patrick's Day, and ooh, it's a Tuesday, let's go get drunk. So I'm curious today if the tacos and tequilas of the world, that's right by my house. They have the big outdoor area where technically there's a little bit of more room to get some people out of place. I will be curious today if the people are out and about for Cinco de Mayo. That if this is just an excuse to go get a couple of drinks, a couple of tacos, some chips and salsa, and call it a day.
Well, put it this way. Even my wife, now she doesn't want to go out.
But she wants a quesadilla.
But yeah, she wants some tacos. She does. So, this is about as festive as, we can be these days. So if that's the mood inside this residence, could imagine what it's like in the rest of the 239. 479-5551 is how you can chime into the show. 479-5551 if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch TV. Let me know how my lighting is.
It's terrific. I told you look great. It's the best you've looked in weeks.
Chastised me, said that just the light, it's right on my forehead. You're glowing. She even said to me last night, you keep this up, you're going to have to put makeup on. I went, hey, take it easy now. Come on. We haven't put makeup on in 16 years. We're not going to start now. My goodness. Did you ever put makeup on for those Blades games?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. For the Blades games and for the Knights, yeah, I always carried my whatever number 4 with me. Yeah, we've had this discussion before. Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to make sure. Golden beige number 2 for me. I know right where to go if I need to get it again. But so far, I'm rejecting that in our Twitch TV and YouTube broadcast.
Yeah, it ain't happening.
You're right.
I mean, if I'm not putting on anything more than the Arkansas shirt that Pat Pearson sent me. I mean, when was he at Arkansas? He's been at Oregon for 6 years.
Oh, he went to Arkansas in the summer of 2013.
Yeah, so this shirt's a good 7. I mean, this is 7 years old. You think I'm putting makeup on when I got a shirt on that says it's hard to be humble, Arkansas football? I mean, it's hard to be humble. They win 3 games a year. Of course it's hard to be humble.
At the time, they were winning about 8 games a year. It's a little different. Then. All right. Now, it's easy to be humble. It's tough to be in the SEC West. That's what's hard. Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Well, the news hit about an hour or so after our show yesterday. The passing of legendary football coach Don Shula, who was much more than that in South Florida. I mean, what was Miami before the Dolphins? I mean, growing up outside of the Orange Bowl, I didn't know a damn thing about Miami.
The next thing I knew about Miami after the Miami Dolphins was Miami Vice.
Okay.
I mean, that's
right.
A pretty big gap.
Right. That's true. That's
true. That's 70s to, I graduated high school in 87, and that was the rage about when I graduated high school.
Yeah, when you started high school, actually. But it started to really become a big deal in 84. You probably just caught on a year or so later.
That's the time frame. Mid 80s, mid to late 80s is Miami Vice time. So, yes, that was the next time Miami was relevant for anything other than Don Shula and the Dolphins.
But what he meant and all the money that he raised for charity and of course, making the Dolphins an iconic NFL franchise, which is difficult for a generation of fans to believe. But they were. I mean, for 30 years, and Shula was there for 26 of them, the 70s, the 80s, and well into the 90s, the Dolphins were an iconic franchise. They were a brand in the National Football League.
They were a 5-time a year on national television. They were Monday Night Football. We saw, David and I have talked about it and referenced it so many times. When you watched ABC in the 70s, you saw the Raiders, the Steelers, or the Dolphins. And that was it.
Yep.
That was it.
And the Dolphins were my AFC team that I always had a little bit of a soft spot for. Because when I was first becoming a sports fan, 7, 8, 9 years of age, that's Super Bowl 7, 8, 9. Well, Shula and the Dolphins won 7 and 8. And Mark, let's be honest, as you mentioned, there were 5 teams in the NFL in the mid-70s. Really. In the NFC, the big 2 were the Cowboys and the Vikings. Well, I was a Giants fan, so I couldn't have a soft spot for anybody else in the NFC. Well, then we went to the AFC. My mother was a Steelers fan, so I didn't want to root for the same team my mother did. It came down to the Dolphins or the Raiders. Well, what can I tell you? I like their uniforms.
So did my mother. My mother liked their uniforms and Larry Zonka.
Yeah.
Those two things seemed to work for Jackie. And so I had a soft spot for the Dolphins because my mom liked them. And I guess as a kid, I didn't have allegiance to a team because my team sucked. My local team was bad. So I liked, I didn't see there being a problem. I'm 4 years younger, 5 years younger, 4 years younger than you. I didn't have a problem in the mid-'70s liking the Steelers, the Dolphins, and the Raiders. I liked players on all of them. I collected football cards, and there were, loved Fred Biletnikoff with the long hair and the eyes. And the Dolphins there was something cool about their unis because no one wore orange and teal. Right.
Aqua. No one wore aqua back then.
My bad. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But, seriously, by the mid-'80s, it became the rage. And you got to realize, these guys have been playing football in this for a generation already. That's real men right there. Real men. Larry Zonka wore aqua, okay? Kicked your butt in aqua. That's how tough they were. But Don Shula, 90 years of age, was on the show quite a few times, actually. We hadn't had him on in our second act. Last time we had him on was in our final year in our first act, and I caught the wrath of Coach Shula.
I'm glad you brought it up because you pissed off Coach Shula.
I did.
And you didn't mean it's
Not at all.
It's one of 5 occasions in which I've worked with David. Actually, I've worked with him for 4. I missed the one with Gene Deckeroff. We had not yet teamed up. When David asked a sincere question that was interpreted incorrectly. And I have your back on every one of these. And with Coach Shula, you did not at all mean for it to go that way, but Don got pissed at you.
Boy, I'll tell you, I knew what it was like to be an offensive lineman and jump off sides. Man, oh man. Coach still had it in him.
And what's hard is that we alternate questions. And many people have confused the two of us as being one. We think we sound differently, but there are people that think we sound very similarly. And it's why we laugh even more when we're in different places and people will answer me and say David. And but there's 2 parts to that. You got the jumping off sides procedure call, wrath. Right. I had to be the one to speak next, fearing my life that if the question's not good, it's coming back at me again.
Or this interview is going to be over. He's going to look at his PR guy and go, "What'd you book me with these 2 yahoos for?" But had a few encounters, not just over the phone with Coach Shula. I had 2 with Coach Shula. Was and I don't know if they still do it, but in the 2000s anyway. A thing that the Shula's steakhouses did was Coach Shula would come through town at least once a year. And when he did, his media folk, it was their job to figure out 8, 10, 12 people, usually in the media, and they would take them out to dinner. And you would have a dinner with Don Shula. Now imagine getting that call. Hey, do you have time a week from Tuesday at 6 o'clock to join us and about 8 other people? We're going to have a private dinner with Coach Shula. You're like, I'm sorry, do you have the right number? Do you know who you're calling? My name's David Moulton. You must have the wrong number. No, you're on our list. So I got that call twice. I went the first time. The second time I did a solid for a couple of guys we used to work with. The one is a huge Dolphins fan. Idolized Shula, and for whatever reason they weren't on the list, and I said, hey, can you take me off it, and can you find a way to put these 2 on and what have you? And so it made their day. And so I did a solid for a couple of guys. And the only other time, Mark, and you can imagine the old you just want to be a fly on the wall, Gary's first year, Gary Danielson, with the SEC on CBS is 2006. Well, Don's son is the coach at Alabama, and Alabama came to the Swamp, play Urban and the Gators. And in the first couple years, I used to go down on the field with Gary before games. And I don't know why I stopped doing it, but one day he said, "You want to come down?" And I said, "No," and he's never asked me again. And so, but the
God,
first
that
few
is
years,
so good. I just need that to resonate for
Right.
just because that is so Gary.
he just stopped asking. He's like,
Well,
"Well,
you're
if you don't
damn
wanna
right.
go
You
down,
said
that's
no.
fine." Yeah,
You
and
said no,
now
I'm
we go
done.
down.
You're dead
now
to
the
me.
funny thing is, we go down separately. Now, how we don't even. When I go down separately from him. But the first few years we would go down together. So here it is. It's like, I don't know, week 4, week 5 of the season, and at midfield, imagine this circle. It's Urban Meyer, Don Shula, Gary Danielson, and me. Well, you can imagine how much talking I did.
Well,
That would be none.
You were chomping at the bit, though. How many questions did you have that you had to pass on? 74?
No, it's one of those times in which you're like, man, I really shouldn't be here. What am I doing here? Is there a way to just quietly slide out of this? You know, people are filing in the stadium and they're kind of like, "Oh, that's Urban, that's Coach Shula." They recognize Gary, and it's like, "Who's that other guy?"
Right.
And so, yeah, so that's going on. I'm thinking, is there a way for me to slide out? But instead, Mark held my ground at the end, made sure I shook his hand, looked right at him, and said, "Coach Shula, all right," and said, "You're been kind enough over the years to come on our show because you and I had just started working together a few months earlier. Been kind enough to come on the show, and you just hosted us for a dinner at your fine steakhouse," which, Mark, amazingly, I had dinner at just before the season started. First time I ever had dinner there where I paid. And so I made sure to, tell him what a fine job his staff did at his fine restaurant in Naples. How about that?
Way to go.
How about that suck-up job right there? It was all true, but that's, way to finish strong because that's all I contributed to that conversation. Let me tell you.
But an icon has passed at 90. And, even with Marino and D-Wade, and there's an Atlantic Ocean between Shula and the next biggest sports figure in Miami.
Well, certainly of a couple of generations.
I still think going through because he carried that much weight till his death.
Yes. Well, and Kim Bokamper was quoted yesterday as saying, "We were all concerned about his health in recent years, and this still has just hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest." And Larry Zonka reduced to tears, saying, "I never envisioned a day without Coach Shula."
Larry Zonka yesterday with Andrew Siciliano on the NFL Network started breaking down a little bit, and he said, I never thought of Coach Shula as a brother, never thought of him as a stepdad. I never thought of him as that family member until I got the call this morning, and I have not been able to control myself since.
Larry, now, I believe he was at his farm in Ohio. Okay, I don't know if it's not the time of year because he's, I think he still goes to Alaska during the summers and what have you, but I believe he was at a farm in Ohio when they got a hold of him. But Coach Shula, who turned 90 earlier this year, and fortunately enough, they threw a surprise birthday party for him. It was a big event. There were a lot of pictures of it making the rounds yesterday. So glad that they could all get that in. And then, of course, he was honored and toasted and celebrated in around the Super Bowl this year, in which word was that he closed the party, Mark, that the owner's party, that Don Shula was there until the end. So good deal. Coach Shula passing away yesterday at the age of 90. I'd like to hear your thoughts. 479-5551, whether or not you want to call in or just text in your thoughts at 479-5551 on the passing of Don Shula, particularly if you're of a certain generation. And if you're a Dolph fan, man, he was your franchise, wasn't he? He was your franchise for the longest time. And goodness knows the franchise has not been the same since, and he hasn't coached since the 95 season. 479-5551 is our number. The starting five is next. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
A date which will live in infamy. You will not be failing
amazing comebacks.
How on God's earth does Fox National run this advertisement and throw in Yo Adrian?
The book.
Actually, this is Casio.
That's going to say.
This is Casio. I apologize. There's no way this is national. Once I heard Donald, I knew that was John.
We're all living a new normal. Do any of our customers currently facing financial burdens? Call your State Farm agent or go to statefarm.com because we're here to help. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Dial star 2020. France Eye Care.
Attention community heroes, France Eye Care would like to express our appreciation for all that you do as you serve on the front lines, and that's why we're offering $1,500 off bilateral LASIK for first responders. All EMTs, firefighters, police officers, and critical care workers in hospitals and minor emergency clinics are eligible to receive this benefit through May 31st. Dr. Jonathan France, one of the original pioneers in the field of LASIK surgery, and his expert team of surgeons at France Eye Care want to help you experience better vision and a better life without the hassle of contacts and glasses. In addition to this amazing 15
I don't know if you're noticing the chat room, David.
I don't I can't see it.
Well, let me
see in the chat room is top of the morning to you.
let me update you, because there has been an ongoing discussion about after I brought up the wallet. Didn't David lose his wallet at an airport? And people are no, that was the phone. He lost the wallet at the Wawa countertop.
Wow, look at that. You are so correct. Yes. Wallet 2 years ago at a Wawa.
Making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease. Zero down. $149.
Phone 18 months ago
Zero down. $149
in
per
Atlanta.
month. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease. Zero down. $269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. Zero down. $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months, no payments for up to 120 days, and prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo.
All right, we need a poll question.
Call 239-481-2600, GallianaCars.com.
Better coach, Shula or Belichick.
Miles per year, 0 to its signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, doc, and dealer fee. Zero security deposit with lender approval.
Listen to the Dan
You could put Shula at 347 wins, 2 Super Bowls. Belichick, 304 wins, 6 Super
Pool
Bowls.
need a checkup? Call the doctor, the pool doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your pool a pain to operate? Automation is the answer. Use your phone to turn on your spa, and it'll be warm when you get home.
Who is a better coach, or who would you want as your
We're a
coach?
family company, and for over 40
Okay.
years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the pool doctor for award-winning.
I mean, let's set this up so-
Who would you want to coach your team?
That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
A big
3
part
what,
of enjoying a
42?
good bike ride are
347.
all the sights you see along the way.
So when David and I both developed cataracts, it didn't take long for us to do something about it.
Turns out some of the best cataract surgeons in the world are right here in our area.
304
at
for
Community Eye Center.
Belichick.
We really care about improving people's lives by improving their vision.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafor really do care about helping people, and we're so
Yes,
glad they
but
helped
6
us.
of those
We
SBs.
share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about what we do.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so
All right.
tiny. 100
Look at
million
that. We got a
particles
poll
fit on
question
the head
up.
of a pin.
Son of a
As we run around in our
bitch.
trucks and cars and play golf and go
This
fishing
is
and go to work and
impressive.
do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only
Don't
move
be
with
a
us.
spreader.
Over 65,
Don't be a
diabetes,
spreader.
COPD. All these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands. Be careful. Don't be a spreader.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business?
Boy, did Cowherd get grief yesterday.
What for? I don't even
Did a 3-hour show and never mentioned Don Shula. Not once.
You're
Not
kidding me.
once. No.
ESPN,
Oh, no.
yesterday I turned on NFL, NFL Now, and I turned on NFL Network. That's all they did.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
25 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. Poll question is already up.
Scary.
Which coaching legend would you want coaching your team? Shula or Belichick? Don Shula, all-time winningest coach. Bill Belichick, I believe, third on the list. I think it's Shula, Hallis, Belichick. Obviously, Bill with more Super Bowls. Coach Shula with the perfect season. Who would you want coaching your team? That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, millerandmoulton.com to vote.
Our friend Pat Donovan chimed in on Twitter and said Al Pacino from Any Given Sunday. I mean, that speech.
Nice.
You know, I love this story, and we'd all heard it, but just reminded of it yesterday of Shula worried about the team being out too late and missing curfew and not really wanting to stay up in the hotel and try to bust them. So walking down to the valet, handing him a football and a Sharpie, and saying, anybody that comes in after midnight, have them sign this football.
Right.
Shula walks on the bus and reads off the names on the football and says, all you players are benched for the first half. It's just great.
Yep. Hey, do you mind signing my football? No, kid, sure, that'd be fine. That'd be great.
At all.
Right. That's fantastic. Oh, boy. Time now for...
The starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton's starting five. Fox Sports Radio and foxsportsfm.com.
33 years coaching in the NFL, the first 7 with the Baltimore Colts. He may have been, Mark, the first ever coach who essentially was acquired in a trade, because the Dolphins signed Shula away from the Colts when he was under contract still for another year. And Pete Rozelle made the Dolphins give up their first-round pick, saying, hey, you just can't do this. You just can't sign another coach that's under contract. And so the Dolphins gave up a first-round pick for Don Shula. You know, Mark, we went through yesterday all the first-round picks from 3 years ago who can't even get the 5th-year option on their contract picked up. How about that? Best first-round pick in Dolphins history, Marino or Shula?
Ooh, Shula.
Now, there's a poll question.
Shula brought home the hardware. No offense when it comes to this one. You can say all you want, David, but this one is going to be won and lost on hardware. I'll go Coach Shula.
Yeah. 26 years with the Dolphins. You add up the 33 years total, 347 wins, including the playoffs. That's 10.5 wins a season for 33 years. 6 Super Bowl appearances, the 2 wins back-to-back, the 72 and 73 seasons. A lot of Dolphins players thought the 73 team was actually better than the 72, but, of course, the 72 team was perfect at 17-0. No one has done it before or since. Mark, of all the stats accredited to Don Shula, you can pick out which one is most impressive. I nominate 33 years in the NFL, 2 losing seasons.
There's a couple of things that I thought of yesterday, because I really wasn't as aware of what the NFL did to the Dolphins to make your franchise good. And that was pull away one of Shula's personnel people and basically give him to the Giants. So if you think about Don Shula, his football prowess was responsible for Super Bowls really for 3 franchises. Won with the Colts, or got to one with the Colts, won the 2 with the Dolphins, and is responsible for the Giants' resurgence because they stole one of the members of his front office, and the Giants didn't even steal him. The league stole him.
Right.
And said, we're going to fix this franchise, Coach Shula. I don't know what to tell you. We're taking your right hand.
And Don Shula was okay with it.
That to me that's what I spent time. And that's 50 years. You know, his coaching tree, but then what that went on for the Giants for a good decade and a half, David.
Absolutely.
And maybe even beyond that, he's responsible for the way that franchise is run. That's really what I thought about yesterday.
And also what Don Shula was involved in terms of how instrumental some of the games that he was involved in. I mean, listen, I believe that Super Bowl III is the most significant game in NFL history for a lot of reasons. And obviously, Shula was the losing coach in that. But because he lost that game, it's why 2 years later he ended up in Miami. The owner of the Colts could not handle the fact that they lost that game because Carol Rosenblum's was located in New York. And all his New York buddies gave him grief over it. And his relationship with Shula after losing Super Bowl III soured and soured quickly. And it's why Don looked to get out. Great story yesterday. So Joe Robbie's on the phone to hire him. And he's going to offer him the job. And Shula says, Joe, I got to call you back, and hangs up the phone. And so finally, when Shula calls him back like an hour later, Joe's like, what's going on? And Don's like, I had to break up a fight between my assistant coaches. Marshawn Lynch is 34 years of age. Remember, he came back late last year, unretired, right before the final game of the regular season. He scored 4 touchdowns in the final 3 games for the Seahawks. He didn't gain a whole lot of yards, though. Gained about 2 yards a carry. But he's thinking about a return. Seahawks, once again, with a bunch of questions at running back, guys who were hurt at the end of last year, not knowing if they're going to be healthy for the start of this year. So Lynch is talking to the Seahawks about returning in 2020. NFL will release its schedule for 2020. Thursday night, 8 o'clock. Are we in? Are we live? Are we doing a Twitch show again? Man, you like working for free all of a sudden. You're giving hugs, and you're working for free.
Well, I really thought that I read it wrong too, David. I was ready to do that last night. When 35 minutes later you got back to me, it was way outside the zone of.
Right. We both read it wrong.
You missed you missed the initial text, and you've said all along, if you don't get back to people in 5 to 7 minutes, pretty much count you out. And when 30 minutes had gone by and you hadn't responded, I figured we were done.
So are we doing a scheduled show Thursday night, 8 o'clock?
No.
No? No?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Sign of the times, the Houston Texans are going to hire a facilities hygiene coordinator. That's right, a facilities hygiene coordinator. Houston Texans are hiring one for 2020. And what we said yesterday turned out to be true. There will be no international games in 2020. No Mexico City, no London. Mark, in the NAIA, they are partnering with the NFL. They're going to offer women's flag football as a varsity sport beginning in 2021. If
Why?
they can get, well, just to promote women playing football. And if they can get 40 schools, Mark, to go along to play women's flag football, they'll be able to play for a national championship. Major League Baseball reports out from a few players that are like, yeah, we're talking around June 10th to start up spring training again. We'll do it for 3 weeks, and then July 1st, the season will start. And apparently they're going to go to the home ballparks. That's the latest story that's coming out. We'll see whether or not it's true. Did you catch this story out of Montreal yesterday? Former clubhouse manager saying Pete Rose corked his bats in 1984 during his 1 year with the Expos. And that there are 2 other people who have gone on the record and said, yeah, he did that his whole career, but nobody checked singles hitters. No comment from Rose. South Korea Pro Baseball League starts up today.
Started, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they?
Right.
I mean, isn't it on now? Like 1 a.m. was the first pitch?
Right. Because, no,
just time. I mean,
that's right.
Because I woke up this morning, everybody all elated about watching whatever on ESPN, and I have no interest whatsoever. None. Zip, zilch, nada.
If nothing else, you should check it out to see the lack of atmosphere and whether or not you're okay with it or it bothers you, because there's nobody in those stands either. And finally, Louisville hit with NCAA notice of allegations. Could you help me out here? A few years ago,
right,
they were forced to take down their national championship banner from the NCAA. Patino ended up having to resign. Now they're getting hit with more stuff? I mean, what? Now Louisville's taking the hit for the North Carolina academic fraud? I mean,
now you're starting to figure this out, David.
I mean, is Kansas and Arizona's misdeeds and Louisville's paying the price?
Pretty much.
What the heck?
Pretty much. I mean, I even think they're taking the hit for LSU.
I mean,
basketball, everybody. Basketball.
Right. I mean, seriously, what's going on here? If I'm Louisville, I look at the NCAA and go, what the hell more do you want from us? We took down our damn banner. I said it at the time.
Here he goes.
I'll say it again. Listen, you're going to hit me with more notice of allegations? You're damn right I'm putting the banner back up. Blank you. Are you kidding me? How much more blood do you want? For what it's worth, Rick Pitino is accused of a level 2 violation, which is the second most severe. Of course, he's at Iona now, so whatever penalty he gets, he'll have to serve there. 13 minutes before the top of the hour. That is
the starting five. 5 big stories that you need to know. This is Miller and Moulton starting 5. Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
And yes, if I was the AD, I'd be climbing up myself and putting that banner up today. Dare you guys hit us with more crap. Miller, we're in the middle of a worldwide pandemic. What's your problem? Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio remembers the greatest coach in NFL history, Don Shula.
Me as a person took off because of my experience with Coach Shula. He was Moses to me. He set me free.
2-time Super Bowl champion, 4-time Coach of the Year, coach of the 1972 undefeated team, and Pro Football Hall of Famer. We remember Don Shula.
Hey guys, Frank here for Center for Men's Health, where the physicians and staff want you to know that C4MH.com is open and is going to remain open throughout this ordeal.
It's a nice transition, right, from the Don Shula tribute to the C4MH. Don Shula was able to get it up right until 89, thanks to C4MH.
Alrighty then.
Hey, I'm done. I'm done caring about what comes out of my mouth during a commercial break. I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to say anything that could get me in real trouble, because I don't say things like that. So,
real trouble.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say something insensitive towards groups of people. I don't say things like that. I made a joke about someone who died and, essentially being able to get it up with C4MH. I'll go there, David. That I think still okay.
Just confirmed that C4MH.com wants frontline health care to be safe as well. C4MH.com, the leaders in low-T care.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on CoreTech flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of CoreTech in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of CoreTech that you have. You also have other CoreTech products as well.
We also carry the CoreTech stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's CoreTech, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have CoreTech wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Heat pumps take heat out of the air and put it in your pool. They cost less to run than gas heaters, and you won't have panels on your roof. Special pricing, rebates, and free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn. We are Fox Sports!
No matter where you're boating, with Towboat US, you're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300 ports nationwide. Your local Towboat US companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, the river to Lake O, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as $99. Call 239-945-1664 for more information, or visit towboatuscapecoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business and taking all precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery, and the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor.
It's Teacher Appreciation Week. I have not felt very appreciated around this house so far. Just letting people...
What do you mean? First off, you've worked a day.
Have I been appreciated?
Well, I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
All I've been told to do is get Mother's Day gifts this week.
Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is DR Martineau.
Now back to Miller and Moulton.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
No. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Eight minutes before 7 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, this Cinco de Mayo, this National Day of Giving. The charity, I mean, a lot of us are hurting these days. Let's be honest. But the charities, obviously, they count on people doing at least okay. So they've got a little something to give. And so donations are way down. So today, a National Day of Giving. If by chance you are in the position that you can give, maybe consider doing so today. Many a charity could use it. 479-5551, 479-5551 is our number. Chiming in, wanting to hear from you, your thoughts, the passing of Don Shula and what he and those Dolphins meant for many of you out there, particularly if you're a South Floridian who has now become a Southwest Floridian. There are many in that community who say that, you know, it's difficult to imagine Miami without Shula, quite frankly, and the Dolphins and what they did to incur a sense of pride, particularly during that period in Miami's history in which it was becoming multicultural and they were trying to figure out how in the world they were going to blend their society the way they did. And that the first sense of communal pride that all the cultures rallied around was the Dolphins.
Well, David, you know, we've said here there have been 3 instances that have brought the community together. Blade's first run, people were in. FGCU making their historic run. And then natural disasters, whether it was Charlie or Irma or things, or Wilma. I mean, those are the things that bring the community together, and you have to say it's the same way with Miami and the Dolphins going back to the 70s. We did get this text on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line that just says 21 picks and 7 seasons as a player before primetime. I mean, remember Don Shula began coaching in the National Football League at 33, played for a few years in the league, and had 21 picks in 7 seasons. They didn't throw it all that much then.
No, that is true. That is true. Belichick, in releasing a statement yesterday, said that, because remember, his dad was a Navy guy, and so Bill grew up in Annapolis. And so their team were the Baltimore Colts. And he said, you know, I loved Shula and the Colts. I mean, he had 2 seasons back-to-back where he went 24-2-2 and had no championship to show for it. Lost in the NFL championship game, which was before Super Bowls, and then ultimately also ended up losing Super Bowl 3 I mean, Shula had lost 3 championship games. Then he loses Super Bowl 6 with the Dolphins. I mean, think about this. The all-time winningest coach in NFL history enters Super Bowl 7 with the rep that he can't win the big game.
Which does, David, lead us to our poll question today. Who would you want to coach your team? The 347 wins of Coach Shula with his 2 Super Bowls, or the 304 wins of one Bill Belichick and his 6 Super Bowls? This voting looking a lot like what you thought yesterday's would. Right now, it's a 2-1 margin for Coach Belichick at the moment.
I wonder how much of that is recency bias and or if it's just 6 versus 2. Belichick 68. He turned it in April. Shula retired after just turning 66. It was a forced retirement. He was forced out for Jimmy Johnson by Wayne Huizenga. Wasn't happy about it either. Belichick 43 wins away from tying Shula. So he needs 44 wins. And he can get it in 5 years.
This does include
coaching.
This does include playoff wins for the record. This is all wins. Correct. So that's 10 a year. Well, 9 a year. 9 a year would take care of it.
Correct.
9 a year
for 5 years.
He would set it. If you told me that number 12 was his quarterback and I knew he was going to get 12 for the next 2, I would say yes. But Tom Brady, ironically going to Tampa, could be what prevents Bill Belichick from getting to 347.
Plus he's 68, which means he would have to, if you're thinking 5 more years, he would have to coach his 5th year at the age of 72. Will Bill keep coaching then? Miller and Moulton.
Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe with dealer-to-door delivery. Plus, we're making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease, 0 down, $149 per month. Yes, a new Kia for 0 down, $149 per month. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease, 0 down, $269 per month. That's right, Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, 0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months, no payments for up to 120 days, and prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600, GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, dock, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
Our sound is a sound that makes you stop. Stop. And listen.
Listen to me and you listen well.
It's a collective voice that calls out to you, the fans.
We get a lot of zany people that call in.
This is our sound.
We're dealing with sick people here.
They're just absolutely nuts.
Crazy stuff happens. That's all I'm saying.
And you can only get it here.
Get crazy, get wild.
On Fox Sports Radio.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myShowerDoor.com.
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 103.3 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com. There's only one way to wake up in the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it. Miller.
This could end the bro hug. That would be great for you because there is nobody worse at the bro hug than one David Moulton.
And Moulton.
I used to be. 2019, I found my bro hug crew.
Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
All guests appear on the Goldberg Noon Abraham hotline. Goldberg-law.com.
Oh, I like
It's up to you now. It's up to you.
I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
Your life. Couple minutes past 7 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. It is the 5th of May. It is Cinco de Mayo. It is the National Day of Giving. Thanks so much for spending some time with us, Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. This and every show on the station is streamed at foxsportsfm.com. If you miss any part of Miller and Moulton, well, that's why every hour has its own podcast. We call them the Connecticut Cast because they're brought to you by Connecticut, Quality Water Systems of Southwest Florida. May specials, the best that we have ever seen. And Miller and Moulton are clients of Connecticut. And these specials are unbelievable right now. So give them a holler. Check them out. ConnecticutSWFL.com or 908-2300. Jason Cole in a half an hour as we will have others between now and the end of our show reflecting on the life and the career and the passing of one Don Shula. Jason Cole at the bottom of the hour. An old friend, Mike Westhoff, will join us 1 hour from now. And, of course, it is a Tuesday, so that means Pat Kerwin will join us to talk about Coach Shula and some of the other things going on in the NFL a little before 8:30. 479-5551 is our number, Mark. 479-5551. Have people reflect and talk about Don Shula and what he meant to them and what those Dolphins teams meant to them. And every year that goes by, Mark, how much that Dolphins, I think, missed Shula more and more.
We got this text on Twitch right before the break. I had to put the glasses on and lean in a little bit, David, because I'm going to read this to you, and then I'll let you take this on before I do. But Heckle, who is a constant in our Twitch chat room, says, I hated Fins fans as a kid for being entitled, etc. Shula was the reason Fins fans were us Pats fans before Pat fans became our own special a-hole. Dolphins fans as bad as Pats fans? I mean, Heckle. Did you ever listen to yourself and any of your friends talk?
Now, see, you have to admit, though, Mark, it's been so long since the Dolphins were great that, you and I don't know. You were in Michigan. I was in the Northeast. We weren't around Dolphins in the 70s and 80s.
In the 70s, all people did was smoke pot. How obnoxious could they be? They had big hair. Hair was everywhere. On every part of them, and they weren't. Come on, Heckle. You're
harder stuff by the end of the decade, but I know where you're getting. Just saying, what sports fans though, Mark? They put the weed down long enough to maybe be obnoxious. That's all I'm saying.
Now and maybe because the Canes fans a special kind of obnoxious when they're winning. I mean, a special kind of obnoxious.
Yes, it's part of their charm. There's no doubt about it. We saw it for about 4 weeks, 3 years ago. We had just a little taste of what, we're hoping it could be like again one day. Just a little taste in 2017. Just a little pinch between your cheek and gums there. Just a little bit. And it was like, oh, wow, have I missed this? But Dolphin, particularly of a certain generation.
Absolutely. I'm still just taken a bit back by the Dolphin fan being the Patriot fan before the Patriot fan. Now, if the Patriot fan were to say, there's a lot of teams, the Cowboy fan, throughout the 90s. I think that would resonate pretty well.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of teams that I think you could fit that bill. I just have trouble going back 40-plus years for that fan. That's all.
Well, but he's saying he was one of them, though.
No, he's a Pats fan. No. He's a Pats fan. He's saying the reason the Pats fan are the way they are is because that the Dolphins fan was the Pats fan before the Pats fan. That's just slow your roll just a little bit there.
I'm guessing that that's not true also because what I think has contributed to the Pats fan is the fact that all the other Boston sports teams got good at the same time and started winning championships too. So it's not just the Pats fan that has become that way because of the Pats dominance. It's also because in and around that, the Bruins have played for cups and won one. The Celtics returned to the finals a couple times and won one. And then we know, of course, that the curse ended and they've won it 3 times. So I think that's all contributed here. I mean, the Boston sports fans got 11 pro championships in the last 20 years. 11. And like 16, 17 trips to the finals.
Just figured out my favorite thing about the coronavirus. I haven't had to listen to Boston sports fans celebrate a title.
479-5551. No wonder you've become a hugger. 479-5551.
Giving them out for free again today.
Street corner in the neighborhood, out by the gate.
Just if I'm not out, knock on the door. I'm fine with it.
Knock on the door for a hug?
Yeah. I've been teasing neighbors that I met. They're big Mets fans, David. I don't know if they listen to us, but they're big Mets fans. And I encountered them the day that J-Lo and A-Rod were in the papers for trying to get the money.
Yeah.
And she quickly, of the husband and wife, the wife is the bigger Mets fan. And she quickly, just stomped on me and said, they don't have enough money. Just right off the bat. But I've joked with them because they are, in my opinion, they're our original walkers. They were walking in the neighborhood well before the coronavirus.
Gotcha.
They were the ones out here all the time. So that's my, I think they'd give a hug.
Mark, next time you see them, ask them, say, listen, my co-host wants to know, do you guys see all the walkers now? And do you feel, hey, come on now, you're invading my space here. All right, we were here first. You guys are just, you're jumping on the bandwagon here. You're bored. We were serious about this. Or do you go, it's about time you see. Yeah. All right, sure, fine. Join us.
Well, it's a married couple and one other guy that joins them. And of the married couple, Vinny is known as the mayor around here. He knows everybody. So I don't think it bothers him that people are out. It just gives him more time because it's not the walk of the serious I'm exercising walk.
Right.
It's really just the stroll.
Sure.
And I think the more people that are out for them, it's the more times they can stop and chat with
talk to people. That's great. That's just what I want. I want to be stopped. I want to talk to people when I'm walking. That's what I want. That's what I want. 479-5551. 479-5551.
Boy, somebody needs to watch some Korean baseball.
No, I don't. I'm actually in agreement with Seth Everett on this one. I have no interest in the Korean baseball. Don't know why. But I have not missed the games as much as I thought I would. Missed a few things. When the Masters came and went, it's like, the initial shock of no March Madness, the Masters. This past Saturday would have been the Derby. Last year we were at your house for a party. I had a winning ticket. He got DQ'd. Yeah, I'm over it almost.
Yeah, I can tell.
Right. I still have the ticket right here, just waiting, for the overturn.
Speaking of which, I believe the Greyhound track officially shut their doors too.
Well, this was going to be the last year,
right? I saw a picture on Twitter with basically the whole staff kind of lined up. I'm like, ooh, that's right. That's another thing that's kind of disappeared in the midst of this coronavirus. I mean, I do think had we not been on lockdown, I think there's a few of us that the last Saturday, either the first Saturday in May or one of the last times that the Dogs were running, I think a few of us just out of memories of Southwest Florida would have gone over and, grabbed a $1 hot dog and made a bet or two.
Absolutely. I would have gone over for old time's sake.
Especially now that we're doing mornings. I'd have done a matinee towards the end of it.
Absolutely. Oh,
might even stood on the infield and fired up a heater just for old time's sake.
Toasted your father?
Yeah. Got a Pall Mall and Miller Lite and called it a day.
Bet the first 4 races and been home by noon.
Right. Couple 4-1 perfectus and we're good to go here.
Right, but you know me, I always played the inside and the outside. Always some combination of 1, 2, 7, 8. That was where I went. 479-5551 is our number. 479-5551. And don't be afraid if you're 40 or under, quite frankly, to chime in and go, I got to be honest. Shula, I didn't really know him. I mean, hasn't coached in almost 25 years, and the Dolphins haven't been what Shula created. I mean, there's been all sorts of numbers that have come out in the last 20 hours since the word of Coach Shula's passing. But if you look at the Dolphins' history, that's not Don Shula related. His 26 years, their wins, their playoff appearances, their playoff wins. I mean, his all-time playoff record, now this does include a few playoff appearances with the Colts, but his all-time playoff record was 19-17. It is one of the areas, and our poll question is, which legendary coach would you rather have coach your franchise, Shula or Belichick? It is the one area where Belichick, his playoff record's 31-12. Shula's is 19-17.
And Belichick, I think, will win this poll going away because of what you just talked about. There is a huge portion of our audience that have no real recollection of Don Shula as a football coach, particularly that audience on Twitter.
And they don't have really recollection of Belichick as head coach of the Browns either.
Correct.
They don't know they spent 5 years in Cleveland, had 4 losing seasons.
Let me ask you a little different question than the Belichick-Shula. Who's the most important football coach in the state of Florida?
Ever?
Shula, Spurrier, Bowden.
Oh.
I mean, you say their name and we immediately know who they're associated with. It should put a smile on your face with any one of the names and the stories that you can think of. It gets David doing Spurrier's voice in his head while he twists a pen in his mouth right now. And once he gets over that, he may chime back into the show.
Well, I'm doing Spurrier talking to Bowden in my head. That's how far down that road. I mean, if you kept filibustering, I could have completed the press conference. I mean, I was off in a land that was so glorious to have Spurrier talking to Bowden and back and forth at before a bowl game when they were playing one another. I mean, that's where I was. It was glorious. But I was actually thinking, since you had listed 3, we're big into Mount Rushmores. Is there a 4th coach in the state of Florida that you would put on the Mount Rushmore? And I would nominate Riley because he came down here and he led them to their first championship. Remember, he fired Van Gundy early in that season. He was the one who coached them to their first title, and then he's run the franchise. And if you think about it, Spurrier and Bowden were also the GMs because they recruited the players, and Shula was essentially the GM of the Dolphins also during his time. I mean, he had final say on everything football related.
I don't know. Riley or Trader Jack? I mean, he did get the Marlins a World Series title.
Yeah, I think you got to go Riley.
I'm having a little fun.
Would
it be Riley? And I know they lost a lot. Is it's probably Riley. I'm just trying to think McKay from the standpoint of starting the franchise, but
yeah, they didn't win anything.
No, I know.
Got to an NFC championship game. I mean, in terms of personality, you'd put him on Mount Rushmore. I mean, just for his one-liners alone.
Right.
What'd you think of your team's execution? I'm all
I'm
for
all
it.
for
I
it.
mean, I'm sorry. That's the mic drop. You just walk out. Oh, boy. NFL films, him turning around, looking at his players. If you guys don't get back, I'm going to ship you all to Green Bay.
I know people are going to go nuts when I say this. Riley or Urban?
Ooh. I'd go Riley because the Heat were nothing until Pat Riley.
Yeah, and the Gators,
No.
the Gators were on their way back to being nothing. They were back to being like when Spurrier was the quarterback, not the coach.
Let's not get crazy. I mean, it was only 3 years. The Zook era was only 3 years. And here's, they were, by their standards, they were too mediocre because he averaged basically, he was like an 8-win coach. But man, Zook's resume was weird. He would lose to Mississippi State and a couple of teams like that, and yet he beat, I think, the number one team in the country 2 or 3 times while he was head coach.
He's a lot more like Mark Richt than the bad coach he got credit for. Richt was 1 or 2 more wins better than that, but would lose that South Carolina game.
Heckle Hyde in our Twitch chat room said that the Dolphins without Shula are 200 and 238 in all the other years. Because there were 4 years of the Dolphins before Shula, and then there have been 24 years of the Dolphins after him. They played 54 years of football, 26 with Shula, 28 without.
Well, it's a big drop-off, though. I mean, even with Pat Riley and all he's done, when you go Shula, Bowden, Spurrier, and Riley just with the Heat, yeah, it's the fourth. You're right, but I think it's a couple of steps down. If you know what I mean, you got to walk down to the.
Yes. No, I agree. The better poll question, Mount Rushmore, you need a fourth, but the better poll question is Shula, Bowden, Spurrier. Now, were you phrasing it as best, most important?
Most important. Most important coach in the state of Florida. It's a great question. I have to remember that for tomorrow.
And I would argue Shula. And I'm only going by what – did you ever see the NFL Network put together, the day in the life or – well, not
football
the day in the life, but the football life. Thank you. And so they did an hour on the 72 Dolphins as told by Shula, Zonka, and Manny Fernandez. And then the 73 Dolphins were told by Kuchenberg, Mercury Morris, and Dick Anderson. And the players on both talked about, since the Bucs weren't in existence yet, that the Dolphins had parades in Miami, and they said they had parades in Tampa, they had a parade in Orlando, they had a parade in Jacksonville. They said, we were it, man. We were Florida's only pro team. No baseball, no basketball, no hockey. They were Florida's only professional team.
I was in a fantasy league for years down here with a bunch of guys who were locals. Some that moved down that I had met and kind of hooked me up with a bunch of guys who, one's a regular listener to the show. And Matt's one of the guys' names who's been down here forever, I think born and raised down here. If I'm not mistaken, his 2 favorite teams are the Miami Dolphins and the Atlanta Braves. Because if you think about it, when you were growing up here, if you're our age, David, and you grew up, your football team was the Dolphins.
Because they were the only ones.
Right, and by the time you remember the Bucs stunk for the first few years, so you probably weren't jumping on that bandwagon.
They started 0-26.
Right. And your baseball team was the Atlanta Braves. The closest professional team you had to not named the Miami Dolphins was the Atlanta Braves. for a lot of years.
Never mind, because of TBS, they were probably the only ones you can get on TV in some way, shape, or form.
And that was why when talk of the Braves coming down here for spring training, I'm like, there is a lot of Braves fans down here that didn't have a choice. That was their team as a kid. But you're right. I mean, the Miami Dolphins were Florida's team.
And they were Florida's team when they were at their height. They were it. And it was right around the time that Miami was becoming the city that it ultimately became. It was not that city yet. Miller and Moulton. Jason Cole covered the Dolphins for a long time, working for a couple of publications on the Southeast Coast. He'll join us in a few moments. Mike Westhoff. We haven't heard from Mike Westhoff in a while. That's probably our fault. It's going to be great to talk to Mike again coming up at the top of the hour. And Pat Kerwin will join us roughly 1 hour from now. Feel free to chime in, whether it be in the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, 479-5551, or dial us up on the Miller and Moulton Twitch channel, and I'll chime in the chat room. We answer what it is you say during the commercial breaks. Well, Mark does. I still get the thumbs out and try to answer that way. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Southwest Florida's Fox
So,
Sports Radio.
got someone chimed in on the text line. And is the other coach Riley? Is it Jimmy Johnson? Or like this person said, is it Schellenberger?
No, it's a good one.
We became really good friends, and I admire him.
Schellenberger wasn't there that long. But then again, you could argue, Riley coached, I don't remember, he came down for 96.
We remember Don Shula.
Riley coached about 10 years.
I want to capture that moment. A photo really is worth more than 1,000 words. That photo isn't very good if it's not in focus.
Mrs. Buck loves photography. The glasses were getting in her way.
Even though photography is just a hobby, it's something I really care about, and it's good to know that Dr. Liss cared about me just as much.
We really don't want bad vision to keep people from doing the things they love.
Community Eye Center really does have the most caring doctors in sight.
Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafor, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things we like to do, we are spreading the virus. The virus can only move with us. Over 65, diabetes, COPD, all these folks will be hurt severely by this virus. Wash your hands, be careful, don't be a spreader.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be
You talk to people when you walk?
a new language.
Do I?
Yeah.
I do. I haven't been, I mean, when Eve went back to her old schedule, I don't even really get my exercise in now. But I talk to everybody. Some people don't talk to me.
Yeah, I don't talk to anybody.
There's
a surprise.
There's a surprise.
No, but you know me. Once again,
You're in the 239. You put your head down. You look angry. You scare the shit out of people when you walk by them. You do. You're scary, but you look angry. When you walk,
not to.
You walk heavy and you walk angrily.
I do walk heavy.
No, you are a plotter. I mean, Zito had your walk. So Zito, I was talking. I just laugh because Zito's big. He does these little live things on Facebook.
Oh no, really?
Oh, it's fantastic. Tell me when we're a minute out, Jero. And so he had this picture of him at Hooters, like in a Hooters outfit from years ago. And I came really close to going, you couldn't fit one leg in those. Because he takes shots at people on social media about their weight. And I'm like, dude, you're 5'6", 2 1/4.
Damn.
Oh, every bit of it. He's big.
Wow.
We have a 3-year window to make a claim.
That's unreal.
If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us at 239-283-2013. It's a free, no obligation.
We haven't had Jason Cole on the show in ages.
Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 2013. Again, time is running out. Call us 239.
David, can you please do
Yeah,
the
I
next
saw
segment
that.
with the white jacket?
Jacket on. It's behind me. That's all. It's right here.
1 minute.
239-283-2013.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner
Tim.
of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Cortex flooring.
Hello.
Good morning, Jason. David Moulton and Mark Miller. How are you this morning?
Good. Can you call me back in like 30 seconds?
Will do.
Is that, all right, thanks. Bye.
And it's not just the many colors of Cortex that you have. You also have other Cortex products as well.
We also carry the Cortex Stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Cortex, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Cortex Wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples.
Isn't that area code Gainesville?
Or go online, floormeisters.com.
I think that's where he lives, though.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
$27 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. You can chime into the show. You can call in. You can text in on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing talk and text line, 479-5551, 479-5551. Joining us now on the Goldberg New and Abraham Law Firm Hotline, goldberg-law.com, is Jason Cole. Been writing about the NFL for around 30 years. For the longest time, covered the Dolphins for the Sun Sentinel and the Miami Herald. You can follow Jason on Twitter at JasonCole62. Jason, first off, how are you and the family doing during all this? And thanks for your time.
First off, thanks for asking. We're doing fine. I mean, a little bored, but we'll be fine. I hope everybody's there is healthy, and appreciate a few moments.
Well, Jason, when we say Don Shula to you, what's the first things you think of?
Oh, I think of the press conferences. I think of the moments asking him questions and getting that sort of little growl that you would get from Don when he either liked something, or even if he didn't like something, or if he liked something. If he didn't like something, he'd really growl. If he liked something, he would kind of give this like growling, like acknowledgement, like, "Oh, you finally figured something out." He was. I really enjoyed covering Shula. I mean, we had our disagreements. I mean, and I covered him at his final 4 years, where there was a lot of pressure on him. Most of it self-imposed. He was trying desperately to win at the end of his career and take advantage of what they had left with Marino in those years, and start a free agency and sort of the changing landscape of the NFL. And they made an AFC Championship game in my first year, and I just think that it wasn't a pleasant finish for him. He didn't go out the way he wanted to go out, but I got to see him set the record for victories by a coach. I saw him do some amazing things like win games. With Steve DeBerg at quarterback, come in 1 week, win a game that week, win with Doug Peterson on the field, patch it together with Scott Mitchell, and of course, some amazing games with Marino at quarterback. So the full power of his ability to adapt and change was on display during that 4-year run.
Talking about Don Shula with Jason Cole. You can follow Jason on Twitter at JasonCole62. Can you take us back when you said there was a lot of pressure on Coach Shula at the end? I mean, his last 4 years, 92, they go to the AFC title game. 93, Marino blows out his Achilles. They go 9-7, but they miss the playoffs. 94, boy, they're close to an AFC championship game. They blow a big lead. Stojanovic misses a kick late. They could have been in Pittsburgh that year playing for the AFC title, and they might have beat that Steelers team because the Chargers team that they lost to.
The day the lights went out in San Diego.
And then, 95, they squeak into the playoffs, I think, with 9-7, and they get beat in the first round. I mean, it's not like, this was, heck, it's 4 winning seasons. It's 3 playoff appearances, and yet he was forced out. I mean, in retrospect, were the fans, Huizenga, was that just a collective screw up, or was it really time?
Oh, I would say it was really time. Don was, what was he, 66 at the time, if I'm remembering, 67. I mean, there were things that he wasn't, on top of. And look, one of the things that had happened is during the 13, 14 years that Marino and Shula were together, I think that there was, there's some edginess in that relationship too. Now, Marino loves Shula, and Marino learned a hard lesson trying to get along with Jimmy. And that's a whole different story that would take up way too much time. But I think that, Don had a lot of opportunities with Marino to win the Super Bowl and didn't get it done. And so it was right on that edge. And I think that his message had gotten lost. Unfortunately, Jimmy, it ends up wasn't the right guy to bring in. But at the time, everybody in the world thought Jimmy was. And Jimmy was doing everything he could to get that job. So I don't look back at that and say, boy, they really screwed up by getting rid of him. I look back at it and say, there are some key things they didn't do along the way to take advantage of what they had. They didn't build the defense quite correctly enough. They didn't play a matching philosophy. If you want to put it on Shula, the biggest problem that they had is they're playing this high-paced offense, right, with Marino, and they're playing a bend but don't break defense. Well, those philosophies don't match up. So that's on Shula. That's on Shula to say, okay, we're going to play soft on defense and not try and force turnovers, even though we've got this quarterback who's amazing at taking advantage of opportunities if we can just get him more opportunities. It's sort of like what you saw with Sean Payton when he had Greg Williams in New Orleans. They played this aggressive defense. They didn't care so much about giving up points. They just wanted to steal possessions. The Dolphins should have been doing that. And if you talk to the coaches on that staff enough, they will tell you that they were playing a mismatched philosophy. And again, that's on Shula, even though I would just say he did some brilliant coaching along the way, because he was a brilliant coach.
Does Miami have the same I know you weren't there for the early years of the Dolphins, but without Shula, how different is football in the state of Florida? Because as we were just talking about, those 70s teams they did parades all over the state. They went to Jacksonville, they went to Orlando, and I have friends that are my age that live on this coast that their teams are the Dolphins and the Braves, because those were the pro teams that you could associate with for the longest time down here. So just how entwined is he, not just on that coast, but for football in the whole state, in your opinion, Jason?
Oh, he establishes a credibility for football and establishes pro football as opposed to college football being the biggest thing possible in the South, because certainly the Falcons didn't do it. The Falcons go into the NFL in, was it 66 or 67? I can't remember what year they were. And, and the Saints too. But the Saints and the Falcons are basically laughable organizations. And so they don't really capture the imagination of fans in the South. The Dolphins do. And at the time, Miami was still basically the South. geography aside, from a political standpoint, Miami is still the South. So it becomes the standard bearer. It's a standard bearer for the state of Florida. It's a standard bearer for football in the South. And all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Hey, we can play professional football down here. We can roll with the big boys down here." And you had a big boy coach, and a team that went undefeated. So yeah, I think that just from a sports standpoint, they have a huge impact. From a geopolitical, I mean, we could spend hours talking about those championship years in the early 70s do to change the face of the socio-political climate in Miami, in the aftermath of the Cuban Revolution and everything, and what was going on in the city, right? Again, probably stuff that most sports fans don't really care about, but really important in the context of the history of the city, right? So in multiple ways, what Shula does down in Miami at that time has a huge rolling impact, which is why people fall in love with that team. In much the same way that people in Pittsburgh fell in love with the Steelers in the 70s, as the rest of the cities, falling in depression, the Steelers, the one thing that people had to be happy about. The Dolphins were the one thing in the early 70s that people had to have pride in this region. Especially when it came to professional football. So yeah, his impact is endless.
Jason Cole has covered the NFL for around 30 years. You can follow Jason on Twitter at JasonCole62. When you talked to players on those teams that you covered, when you talked to the coaching staff and from your own observations, what was it that made him a great coach?
Oh, look, Don, I referred to the growling at the beginning. Look, Don took no prisoners. Don was not afraid to stand up and rip you and demand better and better and better. And just when you thought you had given as much as you could, there was going to be more to be demanded. That was Don Shula. I mean, there's that famous quote that Joe Rose always goes back to. I think they're in the middle of going 8-8 in 1986, and it's the first time they've had, even I think a 500 record with Shula in Miami, and he's standing in front of the team in their old facility at St. Thomas College or St. Thomas University over in Miami Lakes. It was just a terrible venue. But he's standing in front of the team in that little classroom and he goes, 8-8. I can go 8-8 with the guys from Carroll City. And he was referring to Carroll City High School. And so, like you say that in front of a room full of men who are football players, that doesn't exactly play well. So, he was not afraid to snarl at people on a pretty constant basis, whether you were a reporter or whether you played for him.
It's something about, because Don wasn't the biggest man in the world, but it's something about that growl. I remember as a kid sneaking in a back door of a Michigan practice and watching Bo Schembechler undress this 300-pound lineman, and it seemed as if Schembechler kept growing and the lineman kept shrinking. And I kind of have that same thought about Coach Shula, because as we talked earlier in the show, the last time we had him on, David asked one of those questions that got the growl response. And me asking the next question, I'm petrified because he's giving David the growl, and I'm going, if you don't ask something good here, you're going to really get it.
Right.
And he scared the crap out of you, but it was okay.
I love that, though. I mean, to me, that was that's the essence of his personality. Don't you want? I would want to see more of that. Like that. I mean, yeah, it was fear-inducing, and I'm not sure exactly why. Because he wasn't a big man, and I didn't fear him physically, but boy, he was not afraid to rip anybody. I mean, anybody. I mean, he would just.
Do you have a favorite press? Do you have a favorite press conference story of Coach Shula?
Favorite press conference story was Shula.
And maybe it involved you.
No, because the tone of them wasn't. Yeah, let me say this: Shula was better after losses, because there was a humility to him, and he was much better just like being sort of, like laying it out there, like, okay, we weren't good enough, and here's, ask what you need to ask, because I have no, we lost and I have no defense. He didn't make excuses. If there's one moment, God, they're just, they all kind of blend together of this. And let's say this, he wasn't always interesting in those press conferences. Like, he would always start the post-game press conferences by just reciting everything that just happened in the game. And so you had to push him. I think the one where I made him uncomfortable, and I didn't mean to, but I had to ask this factual question. They had to go to Indianapolis for a game. I think it was in the 94 season. And the way the standings worked out, they were down to, there was a lot of tiebreakers in place, right? About where they, and one of the tiebreakers that was in play was they had to win, not only win, but they had to win by as many points as possible, because the point differential tiebreaker had a very high potential to come into play.
Right.
And I had to ask about that. I said, Coach, you not only have to go there, you have to go to Indy to try and win, but you have to try and win by as many points as possible, because this is the way. And oh boy, he did not enjoy that question. And he's like, what do you mean? What are you talking? I'm like, well, this is the rule. And he eventually had to kind of like admit, well, that's the rule, but he didn't want to talk about it because he didn't want Ted Marchibroda to put up on his, he knew what Marchibroda was going to do, which was Marchibroda was going to take this article and he was going to put it up on the blackboard.
Right.
Yeah, right. And say, they're going to try and embarrass us. And it's not that. It's just, these were the rules, right? And boy, he gave me these, like, it was one of these ones where he was really angry that I brought it up, but he couldn't dismiss me because he knew I was right. And it was just, it made for a very, very uncomfortable conversation where he just didn't even get to yell at me. He pulled me aside privately a couple of times and he let me have it over some other things. And I would have to either, I would fold, which happened a couple of times, or I would have to try and bow up because he was basically challenging me in those times, in those moments.
Finally, Jason, though, from everything that I heard yesterday, but also had heard over the years, he was tough, but everybody said he was fair. Did you agree with that?
1,000%. 1,000. I mean, he didn't play favorites. Look, he had his reporters that he got along with better. I mean, Edwin Pope, from the Herald, he got along with. There's no question about it. And there were some other guys, Larry Dorman, who had covered the team for many years, Andy Cohen, who covered the team for the Sun Sentinel and eventually started the Dolphins magazine. There were a bunch of reporters that he got along with, but there's nobody he called to plant stories. And if you had something, he answered. Like, he didn't hide it. He didn't try and, he didn't use information as a weapon. And in this day and age, people use information as a weapon to get the media to fall in line, right?
Absolutely.
He never believed in doing that. And I had great appreciation for that. Because, I had to cover the final 4 years. I didn't get to cover the heyday. I got to cover the years where people were expecting that they were finally going to win a championship, and where people were saying, did you ask the question, did you waste the Marino years? And that was tough for him. That was not easy. So I covered the end game of one of the giants of the game. And it did not make for a lot of pleasant coverage. Let's just put it that way.
He's Jason Cole. Follow him on Twitter at JasonCole62. Jason, thanks for agreeing to do this. And like we said at the beginning, we hope you and your family are safe and well.
Likewise. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Jason Cole, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Mark, two of the media members that Jason mentioned were actually responsible for getting Don Shula the job. Joe Robbie was looking for a coach, and it was Edwin Pope who said to Joe Robbie, well, you should hire Shula. And Joe Robbie didn't know him. And there was a writer there who had gone to college with Shula. And so he said, well, I know him. I got his number. And so between a sports writer telling Joe Robbie who he should hire and a sports writer acting as the go-between originally to, get the two of them to talking, the media was actually, in a way, responsible for bringing Shula to Miami.
Do you think he had Shula's home number or his cell?
I'm guessing that was a big rotary phone. A big rotary phone. And the only question was it up on the wall or was it sitting on a table?
Wall. Wall kitchen.
Also.
Wall kitchen in Baltimore.
Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when Mike Westhoff will join us in 15 minutes. He was on Don Shula's staffs for 10 years in Miami, and Pat Kerwin to join us in 40 minutes' time, in which he'll have birds chirping in the background as well, here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
From Southwest Florida's news leader, this is a Wink News update.
I'm Therese O'Shea with Wink News. Cape Coral's Yacht Club Beach opens this morning from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Playgrounds and pavilions are still closed, but sports courts are open with limitations. Rotary Dog Park also opens today. Coronavirus testing resumes today at 9 a.m. at CenturyLink Sports Complex. They can test up to 400 people a day, but hit capacity before noon yesterday. You don't need money, an appointment, or a doctor's note. And today's the last day for tests at the health department in Immokalee. That site is open from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and only for Immokalee residents. Governor DeSantis is ordering an investigation into the state's unemployment website. He wants to uncover how the Connect system was paid for. The system has repeatedly deemed people ineligible for assistance when they actually meet qualifications. For updates on coronavirus, trust Wink News. Facts, not fear.
Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe with dealer-to-door delivery. Plus, we're making deals we've never made before on over 1,500 new and pre-owned vehicles. Sleek, sophisticated Kia Forte lease, 0 down, $149 per month. Yes, a new Kia for 0 down, $149 per month. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease, 0 down, $269 per month. That's right, Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, 0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months, no payments for up to 120 days, and prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600.
Cashews. Now for some cashews.
42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, doc, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
A big part of enjoying a good bike ride are all the sights you see along the way.
God, you know, The Last Dance, David, has a name that's come out in public that I haven't heard in years.
Turns out some of the best
Jay Mariotti
in the world are right here in our area.
We really care about improving people's lives by improving their vision.
Dr. Spalding and Dr. Spatafora really do care
Jay
about
Mariotti,
people. And we're so
The
glad
Last
they helped
Dance,
us.
a clinic in Michael Jordan's image control.
Feel great about what we do. Hi, this is Dr. Scheibel from Community Eye Center. My partner, Dr. Spatafora, and I want to remind everybody, don't be a spreader. The coronavirus is so
We may
tiny,
talk about this tomorrow.
100 million particles fit on the head of
It's
a pig.
funny,
As we run around
to
in our
Julie,
trucks and cars and play
Jordan is
golf
not
and go
coming off
fishing and
well.
go to work and do the things we like to do,
She doesn't
we are
like him
spreading the
cursing.
virus.
She's
The
like, he's
virus
the only
can
one
only
in the
move
thing
with
cursing.
us. Over 65, diabetes,
And
COPD.
she
All
is
these
trying to
folks
figure
will be
out,
hurt
she's like,
severely
how
by
come
this
his eyes
virus.
are so
Wash your
bloodshot?
hands. Be careful.
Because he's
Don't
drunk.
be a spreader.
We'll need a checkup.
Got a bottle of whiskey next to him, for Christ's
Hi,
sake.
Dr. Mark here.
Heat pumps take heat out of the air and put it in your pool. They cost less to run than gas heaters, and you won't have panels on your roof.
And I, of
Special
course,
pricing,
am
rebates,
just
and
thrilled
free
that
on-site
Jordan's
evaluations.
finally
We're a family
letting it rip a
and for
little
over
bit.
40 years, we've been doing business right.
Gerald, I'm sorry. I just saw that tweet, man. I'm sorry. I'll turn the callers down. Nicolas Cage is apparently playing Tiger King, for those wondering.
He needs some money.
Certified CPC 057088.
We're all stuck at home, and we're finding out more about ourselves. Like Sweats, our all-day attire. There was a reason you ate takeout all the time. Yeah, honey, that does taste good. You didn't really need all that toilet paper. And you found out that we're the ones you've been listening to during these crazy times.
You know,
We're Fox Sports Radio. No matter where
we're going to start having meat shortages.
You're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over 300
They announced it yesterday.
Your local Towboat US
They're going to start seeing it at the grocery stores, so much so that they may limit how much you can
They
purchase.
already are.
Inland, the river to Lake O, and out
At
75
Costco, you can get
nautical
three.
miles. And new
You can get
membership
3
prices as low as
packages.
$99.
Good to know. I would have bought more yesterday. Now I'll start hoarding every time I go.
For more information,
Freezer's pretty good, but not great.
Coral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace.
I'll go
from Field
veggie.
Tractor
I'll go
Company.
vegetarian for a while.
Open
Just
business
eat
to
rice
take
and
all
beans.
precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor to offering
Man, this
curbside
seems
pickup
like a
of your
long
parts
commercial
and
break.
Parts delivery, and the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing
The
a
hell?
frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified
nice if they were
installer
paying
to
for
put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Longtime Dolphins special teams coach Mike Westhoff will join us coming up at the top of the hour. Pat Kerwin in a little more than a half an hour. Right now, time for
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
All right, 1891, Carnegie Hall opens in New York. Tuschovsky's the guest conductor, David. I think tickets were scalped out front for $6-7. 1904, Cy Young pitches the first perfect game in modern baseball for the Boston Americans against the Philadelphia Athletics. Today in 1922, construction begins on Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. 1925, two things. Ty Cobb goes 6 for 6 with 16 total bases, and Yankee Everett Scott is benched, ending his 1,307 game playing streak. Have you ever heard of Everett Scott?
No.
Me either, and that's why 1,307 games. Isn't that kind of significant? And why don't we ever talk about Everett Scott?
So I guess that's who Garrett broke. Because the National League record for the longest time, I think Garvey was in 1100s when he finally missed a game.
1941, the first modern perfume was released. Do you care to take a guess at what it was, David? It is a name that you know. It's a name that everyone in our audience knows. It's not like something crazy.
I was going to say Brute, but
it's a perfume. But good guess. Chanel No. 5 was released today in 1941. KGO in San Francisco began broadcasting today in 1949. West Side Story's soundtrack goes number 1 in 1962, would stay there for 54 weeks at the time. That's 20 weeks longer than any other album.
62, that's right before the British invasion.
Yeah, I just did it because it was West Side Story, and I thought that you would at some point chime in with singing or dancing.
I love Broadway!
1969, the Milwaukee Bucks signed the first pick Lou Alcindor.
Did okay for him.
He did. Also on that day, the Celtics beat the Lakers. That's what they did, 4-3. 1973, Ron Turcotte aboard Secretariat wins in the fastest derby ever, 1:59.4. Today in 78, Pete Rose gets his 3,000th hit. 79, Spectacular Bid wins the derby. 84, Swale is your derby winner. 1997, this made me feel old when I did this, David, was Married with Children's final episode. It's been off the air for 23 years.
Damn. Damn.
2015, Traveler, the debut album by Chris Stapleton, is released. It would go on to be the Billboard Album of the Year. Listen to it on Saturday. It is terrific. If you were born today, you share your birthday with one Ann B. Davis.
Alice.
You're damn right, Alice.
From the Brady
The fact
Bunch.
that you waited that long to get that answer out bothers me just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit.
1 minute.
I was hesitating to make sure I didn't step on you. That's all.
Tammy Wynette, the country singer, Kurt Loder is Kurt Loder 75? Holy blank. The MTV Rolling
News
Stone guy.
Right.
I thought Kurt Loder was cool.
Hey,
when they brought
hired him away from Rolling Stone, that
kind
was
of a big deal. Right. Teeny Yothers, born today in 1973. That's the little sister from Family Ties.
All right.
Adele today is 32 years old, and Chris Brown is 31. And that is today was the day when, on this Cinco de Mayo, here on Miller and Moulton.
It's also the National Day of Giving, if you are so inclined, and you can during these tough times. Mike Westhoff, long time with the Dolphins, spent 10 of them on Don Shula's staff. He'll join us next.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau. You can count on us.
I'm not going vegetarian until I'm out of every effing meat product that's in Southwest Florida.
You can count on us for a price that's fair. The quality is second to none. For professional roofing, the name you need to know.
That was a slippery cashew, David.
I caught it, though.
I know. I mean, he tried to avoid going down twice, it looked like.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
LeBron has shown his greatness.
It's like the
Sorry, I don't know that one.
scene in Pretty Woman.
Sounds more like a
Snare
dumb
that
speaker,
sucker.
am I right? You're an
Quick
idiot.
little
Nice
sucker.
job. Get Southwest Florida sports talk delivered to your
Don't worry about it. It happens all the time.
Just say Alexa.
Great one-liners in that movie.
Oh!
Something worth
I mean, that's why it's a great rom-com, because there are 75 little quick zingers throughout that movie.
You own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof.
So who's the fourth coach? Jimmy? Schnellenberger? I think it's Jimmy.
I think it's Riley.
And live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island.
We could have that as the question tomorrow.
283-2013. It's a free, no obligation inspection that can benefit.
Jimmy was only with the Canes for 5 years.
We deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at
Won it twice.
239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
WFSX AM from Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 94.1 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox. Here's what's trending now. Brought to you by the Center for Men's Health. C4MH.com.
Mike, good morning. Mark Miller, how are you, sir?
Well, Mark, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for agreeing. Been too long since we've talked. How you been?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Doing all right?
Yeah, no, I'm doing great. You know, like everyone else, pretty quiet. Just kind of, staying by myself a lot and riding my bike, exercising. I get to go fishing once in a while, and most thing that I'm doing, I'm actually right in the middle of it. I'm writing a book right now, and I've got someone helping me, and I'm kind of going to tell a part of the NFL that's changed dramatically, and all the experiences I've had. So I'm really, really enjoying it, but it's a lot of work.
Perfect. Here we go. We're going on about 20 seconds, Mike. Again, as always, thank you, my friend.
You're welcome. Very welcome.
The best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past 8 o'clock on this Tuesday, it is Cinco de Mayo Day, the 5th of May. Also, today is the National Day of Giving, if you are either so inclined or in a position in which you can. A lot of charities need your help these days more than ever. We are Miller and Moulton. This is Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com and broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels, and joined by a longtime friend of the show. It's been a little too long, and that's on us. He's Mike Westhoff, 30-plus years as a football coach in the NFL and college before that, 10 years with the legendary Don Shula. And Mike joins us right now. Mike, how you been? How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm doing great. I'm like all of us. It's a very quiet time right now, and so I'm kind of going about my own business, riding my bike and exercising and staying away from everyone. And actually, I'm in the process. I'm writing a book now. And
wow.
I've got a lot of work. I've got someone helping me, of course, and so most of my time is spent doing that. So it's a great chance to do it, and I'm taking advantage of it.
What brought this on, Coach? I mean, writing a book is no easy task, and we've talked to a lot of people. There's no money in it, so what brought this up? This, like you said, it's a lot of work. Why?
I'm going to make a few dollars here, and I'm going to you watch. I'm going to do it. But I think I'm in an sometimes right place, right time. I'm not going to go back and work with the media. I don't want to travel back to New York. I'm not going to coach any longer. I went back for those 2 years at New Orleans, which were a great situation. I loved it. But enough's enough. I had 32 years in the NFL, and that part of my life's going to change. And the thing with the media, I didn't want to travel back to New York all the time to do that, so I don't want to do that. And I kind of want to wrap this up. That what I did all those years in the National Football League as a special teams coach has dramatically changed in the NFL. It's not even the job that I had doesn't exist today. It's just so different. And I'm going to talk about it. I want to write about the experiences of what took place with, not the guy that you hear about every day on the news, but about the average NFL player that came out of nowhere, kind of the underdog, and the impact that they had on the National Football League. And I've got incredible stories, and I'm getting these guys who are actually all, when I talk to them and I interview them and I let them actually write it, and I tell them, write it or talk about it like you lived it. And I don't care what language however you want to say it, you say it. And it's really it's pretty cool. It's good. It's a story that I think anyone is going to enjoy picking up and reading. That's my goal. And I'm getting close. I'm not terribly far from it, but it's a lot of work. Whoa, it's a lot of work. But I'm pounding away.
All right. Well, and Mike, when that book is finished, we certainly want to talk to you about it. I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but when Don Shula hired you, wasn't that the beginning of your 30-plus years in the NFL? And if so, how did you get hired by him? How did he find you?
No, it was not. Actually, the beginning of my 30-some years was several years before that. Frank Cush hired me as the Baltimore Colts. And my story with him is a remarkable story. I won't tell it now, but and I was in Baltimore. I was part of that midnight move when we moved from Baltimore to Indianapolis. And then, and I actually was coaching the offensive line and tight ends. I was a strength coach at one time. I had all these different jobs. And I took over our special teams with the Colts. And we played the Miami Dolphins and really did very well against them. And Don Shula remembered that. And a year or so later, he then contacted me and brought me in to interview to coach tight ends, help with the offensive line, because, staffs were very small back then, and be the special teams coach. That's how that took place. Actually, Don Shula, they were coaching the Pro Bowl, and Ron Stark, the great punter for the Colts, was their punter. And they talked about me, and then he brought me in and interviewed me, and then I went to work for Coach Shula.
How did your coaching philosophy gel with that of Coach Shula? Or I guess maybe even vice versa, Mike. How did Coach Shula tell you to adjust your philosophy to his when you came to work with him?
That's a good point. To be honest with you, the philosophy you better have was just work as hard as you could and pretty much do what he told you because he was the boss. And so it wasn't as though I had to make many adjustments. It was just a learning process. Don Shula was a very complete coach. He was one of the few coaches, maybe ever in history, that could coach every guy. I mean, he could coach all the positions. He was an expert on the rules. And so you better learn them. You better learn what's going on and be able to teach it a particular way. He was very, very demanding. Our practices were very difficult. Actually, they were tough. One thing I did learn, and I actually expressed this to some people over years, different guys I worked with or coaches I was with, our training camp, were probably as tough as I've ever seen anywhere, but yet they were also the shortest. He was never on the field during training camp for more than an hour and 25 minutes. But that hour and 25 minutes, whoa, you better get ready, because it was tough. But he just had a belief, in Miami it's hot, get the players off the field. He was very, very smart with those things. I mean, he was a brilliant coach, and he constantly adjusted. Yeah, there was no such thing as it's over. I mean, I'll never forget a scout one time right before the draft said, the hay's in the barn. Oh, my goodness gracious, that poor guy. He lit into him. The hay was never in the barn, never. He just kept evolving. That's why he was able to transition from, cloud of dust with Larry Zonka to Dan Marino, throwing the ball all over the place. He could do that. And as a coach working for him, you better be able to do it in every single fashion. And that's the thing that I think I learned, and I was able to use it throughout my whole career, was that part with Don. And so philosophy, no, it was just a work ethic. Get in, know the game, and other thing, do it the right way. He's never one that's getting involved in the cheating or whatever. Don was really a very, very dignified person and handled his business in that manner.
Well, and it's why the controversies with the Patriots really bothered him. I mean, the first time that there was a Patriots controversy, I think he tried to give Belichick and them the benefit of the doubt. But a few years ago, I mean, he literally, every time somebody brought up Belichick, would call him Belicheat. I mean, it really bothered him that he felt that he was not doing things in some occasions the right way. We're talking with Mike Westhoff, 10 years. He was a part of Don Shula's staffs in Miami. Mike, I saw a clip of when he got hired yesterday, and he was asked a question. Do you have a 3-year plan? Do you have a 5-year plan? And he looked at the reporter and he said, all I know is I'm going to go get to work now. So it's interesting to me to hear you talk about he demanded that you work hard, and he literally said it from his opening press conference until his final day. Mike, that seems so simple. I mean, doesn't everyone work hard?
It's just, I think the thing with Don did is he was never afraid to change. He always believed that there was another way to do it, that you could do it better. Sometimes the worst thing he could say to you, when you come down and say, why are they doing it like that? Oh, my goodness. You get under your desk and try to hide like George Costanza did, live under there. That's what you wanted to do when he came down the hall after you. Because he was always on top of it, to keep going, to keep finding a way, to practice it. I mean, he taught me a lesson. One of the things he told me, I remember I went to New Orleans Saints. When I was at the Saints, I went in there and, I kind of brought in the middle of the year, and I'm changing everything. And they were doing they had done some drills. Don Shula was not a big drill person. He told me one time, don't ever let me see you doing a mindless drill. You know, I was coaching the offensive line. If you were going to tell the offensive line you're going to block the sled, it was never, all right, let's go right shoulder. No. You had to call a play in which they knew they had to then block with their right shoulder. That's just the way he did it. There was always a thinking part of everything he did. I carried that through my entire career, every single thing I did, and I think it's one of the reasons why I have as many of the records that anyone has in that part of the game, and I got it right from him. He just never, ever stopped. He always, and he would study what someone else did. He might not change it, but he would look at it and see how he could wrinkle it, and he just kept doing it. There was an evolving, and he never stopped with it. And he was just a great teacher, and he loved that part of it. He just loved it. You know, he just loved. He would come into my office every Wednesday. I'll never forget it. 6:30. I mean, he would walk in, and there was the second he walked in, the meeting started. When we would start, instantly, boom, and away we'd go. I used to have this special chair, only he was allowed to sit in. I kept it in my office for years. And he'd come in, he'd sit down, he'd lean back and say, okay, what do you got? And we'd start. We'd start on our plan. And he was not easy to deal with. I mean, you had to fight. You know, there's nothing. I'd have something, a pump block that I loved, and he wouldn't like it, and we'd battle back and forth. And it wasn't easy to beat him either. He was tough, but he was so smart. But you know, I loved that part of it. I loved that challenge. And believe me, he would challenge you. He challenged us all. And it never stopped because he never stopped challenging himself.
You know, I think you said he was tough and he challenged you, I mean, countless times. But the one thing we keep hearing, and that you had to challenge him, is that he was fair. So it sounds like through all of that, Mike, because you obviously won some arguments over doing a punt coverage or whatever the case may be, how difficult was it to persuade him to your line of thinking?
It was not easy. It was not easy. You had to prove it many different ways. But the one thing, if he saw it, and he knew all of a sudden, it would like a light went on. He'd look at it and go, oh, yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. Let's take a look at it. Like, take a look. Let me know what you think. Look at it. Let's go. You know, he would go along with that. But you better do your homework. You better be able to prove it. I remember a time we were arguing about a block thing that we had run against the Patriots. And I knew we did it twice. I was sure of it. He kept arguing we only did it once. Well, I finally proved it. He looked at me, yeah. I won't say exactly what he said. Yeah. But at the same time, yeah, he could acquiesce in that regard. But you had to do your homework. He challenged you. But you hit the right word. He was fair. He was as fair. He could be very demanding, but he was extremely fair. You know, I see sometimes coaches, and I've worked with a couple that you know, they end up firing a lot of people. They make changes. Not Don. He just changed who you were. He didn't have to fire somebody. He would come in and say, all right, we're going to do it like this. And so he was, you know, he was going to solve the problem, not fix the blame. And he did that with players. He was never afraid. Sometimes, you can't with players. You have to make changes, and you have to make cuts, and you make trades and all those types of things. Of course, that's part of the business. But Don was a fair man, very fair. I think fair to the players and fair to anyone that worked for him. I always believed that. I have the deepest respect for that part of who he was.
Mike Westhoff, over 30 years coaching in the NFL, 10 of them with Don Shula and the Dolphins, reflecting on the life and career of the legendary coach here on Miller and Moulton. He never wore a headset, and I got the impression that Shula, much like Bob Knight, they did their coaching during the week, and then on Sundays, he trusted his quarterbacks with the plays. Did he trust you to call the fake punt? Because the most famous fake punt of his career was in the 72 AFC Championship game when they're undefeated and they're losing to the Steelers. And he said, hey, the punter had the green light. If he saw that they turned their backs and they started running, he could take off with it. Of course, he had to be right. And I'm wondering, did he give you the freedom to call what you wanted during the game, but you just needed to be right?
That's really a good question. In that game, that was Larry Seifel that ran that punt. He was also a kind of hybrid running back, wide receiver, halfback type guy, and Larry could do that stuff very well. And there was a green light. Pittsburgh ran a big wall return where they would hit and peel to a big wall and then run the ball over to that wall. That's what they were doing. And they knew in that field position they would go to the wide field with that. So Larry Seipel took that step like he was going to punt it, and then he ran. He ran around where that wall was all running, going to, they were all running the opposite direction, and Larry just ran for that one. With that, fake punts, I did not have a green light on. I did not. And Coach would want him to do that. Everything else, I pretty much did. Now, he and I would talk about punt, like punt block situations. He liked that. He just loved it, and he always wanted to be involved in that. Everything else, he let me call anything I wanted at any time. Now, in my career, I had a green light even when I went to New Orleans with Sean Payton, who's a very, very good football coach, by the way. I had all the stuff we ran down there with Taysom Hill. I called all of that. Actually, Sean really, tell you the truth, didn't even know it sometimes. He would look at me like I was crazy after I did it, but it always worked. I was pretty darn good at it. And he used to say, "You're going to tell me once in a while, aren't you?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I get you, don't worry." It was pretty cool. But no, with Don, there are certain things that I did not have a green light on. No one did, because he loved. He managed the game. You mentioned, the headset. A lot of people don't know this. When we had that high-powered offense, Marino, Duper, Clayton, Coach Shula called the plays. Or he would call a situation or a number, like a code, and then Marino would have 2 or 3 plays from that code. But Don called those plays with from the sideline with no script. He had a script tucked in his back pocket. He just called them off the top of his head. Or he'd call, give me an orange package, Dan. And then Dan he'd come up to the line and he'd have 3 or 4 plays that Dan would call. But that was all orchestrated ahead of time. But Coach Shula did it from the sideline, but he loved them. He managed the game. He saw the whole game as it progressed. Very few coaches do that. And some in the NFL actually today that have coordinator backgrounds are terrible at it. They're terrible at game management. They can't manage the clock. They don't know how to challenge. They don't know how to use their timeouts. Some of them are clueless. Coach Shula was really, really good at that because he loved doing that. And sometimes he would go into one game was a Monday night. It was a close game. We're fighting, and all of a sudden he's kind of in like a delay, and we're like, what the hell is he doing here? And the next thing you know, we're backed up, and because he's setting up taking a safety. And we take the safety, and we won the game easily. And he saw that way before anyone else thought that this was coming. He actually orchestrated it. And he didn't tell any of us. He just was calling plays, and, I'm getting ready to punt. I'm thinking, what are we doing? We're backing up. I get Reggie Roby. I'm having a heart attack. And next thing you know, I realize what's going on. Oh, we're going to take a safety. That's what he did exceptionally well.
Mike, you brought up Sean Payton, and I know we brought you on to talk about Coach Shula, but I do want to ask, since you threw Taysom Hill out there and Jameis is now the backup, when Drew retires, Jameis going to be the quarterback there, or is Taysom Hill going to be the starting quarterback there?
I believe it's going to be Taysom Hill. Of course, that's my guy. I got him started. That's my guy. If anybody say what they want, because he had never even stepped on the football field till I went down there, and I got him active and got him going. So I love him. In fact, I just talked to him the other day. I believe they're going to give him a chance. I think they like him. He throws the ball way better than what you would imagine. Now this is the whole new can of worms they added with James Winston. And with Jameis Winston, that could go a little different direction. I'm not 1,000% sure how that'll work. It's a very complex offense. It's not easy to learn. He'll have the one thing I do, like Winston talked about, was going to graduate school at Harvard. He said, I'm going to quarterback grad school, and that's exactly where he is. So those guys are really, really good. And if you're not sure of that, take a look at what that Joe Brady that left that staff, and take a look at what he did at LSU. And that's the same system. It's pretty good now. Those guys know what they're doing. I mean, the LSU, all of a sudden, that quarterback's the number 1 pick in the draft. And that guy came right from the Saints staff. So this is what I think Winston, that's a smart move in my opinion for him. He's gonna really learn some football with those guys. How it'll all transgress, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I kind of believe that, and it could go packages with Taysom, but Taysom Hill can do it. I think I really caught help around the Super Bowl time because I talked about that. I thought he threw the ball better than, the guy at Baltimore, help me with his name, quarterback.
Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson. I said he throws the ball better than him. And I mean it. I really believe it. Not that I'm saying he's a better quarterback. I'm not saying that. But Taysom Hill can really throw the football. Now, this guy can throw. He's good. And he's so much faster than what anybody thinks. If you race the fastest three guys on the New Orleans Saints team, he'd be in the race. He'd be in the race. Wow. That's how fast he is. People don't know that. This is really a football player. So I think, to answer your question, and I know I bounced around a little bit, I think it's going to be Taysom Hill. I believe that. We'll see. We'll find out, but it'll be interesting.
Mike, hope you're healthy. All right, it's great talking to you.
Same with you. And thank you for asking me about Coach Shula. He was a great person in the National Football League, and it was an honor to be with him all those years. And I actually just talked to him not long ago, and I was very proud of my relationship with him that I maintained over the years. So thank you for doing that for me.
Well, thank you for doing that for us, Mike. We always appreciate your time. And as David said at the beginning, it's been too long, and that's on us. We'll make sure we do this sooner than later. Best of luck with the book. We can't wait till you finish it so we can get some of the stories that you're going to include in it. And when this is all done, we owe you a round of golf or 4. Be well, Mike.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mike Westhoff, over 30 years, an assistant in the NFL, including a 10-year stint with Don Shula, the final 10 years of his career with the Dolphins. And then Jimmy kept him on, and then he ended up going to the Jets. Mike Westhoff, kind enough to join us here on Miller and Moulton. Don Shula was Coach of the Year 4 times. And, they name everything. And yet, I don't believe they have a name on the Coach of the Year award. This was a missed opportunity by the NFL. Don't you think he could have made it the Don Shula Coach of the Year award?
Probably will be this year.
Yeah. That seemed like a missed opportunity. Pat Kerwin to talk about Coach Shula and a few other things going on in the National Football League. He will join us next. Mike Westhoff joined us on the Goldberg, New and Abraham Law Firm Hotline. Local people, local practice, local knowledge. Your questions, if you send them an email, get answered for free at goldberg-law.com. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for listening. Pat Kerwin next on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Southwest Florida's Fox
for Center for Men's Health, where the physicians and staff want you to know that C4MH.com is open and is going to remain open throughout this ordeal. C4MH.com continues to disinfect daily with Microban 24. All patients and staff wear masks. And
I love Westhoff.
Love him.
You want to know the guy I want to go sit and drink with? Mike Westhoff.
Damn right.
I could listen to that son of a bitch tell stories for 2 days. Because when the microphone's off, it's going to get really colorful really quickly. Because that's a legendary cursor right there.
Yes.
I mean, that's an all-time, it's a top 10 cursor, period. Hockey coaches look at Westhoff and go, damn.
Right. I will buy that book. I really would. There aren't many books I'd buy. I would buy that book. If it's done well, I would buy it just to see if it's done well. Because if it's done well, it could be a tremendous book.
Right.
Galliana Kia and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers are taking every precaution to keep you and your family safe.
He's still in the Cape, isn't he?
Door delivery. Plus, we're making
I didn't ask.
On over 1,500 new and pre-owned
I'm guessing he didn't move. I know Wing TV found him yesterday.
Yeah. So you know he's in town, yeah.
$149 per month. Loaded, luxurious Grand Cherokee Limited lease. 0 down, $269 per month. That's right. Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited. 0 down, $269 per month. Plus, Galliana gives you interest-free financing up to 84 months. No payments for up to 120 days. And prepaid gas for a year. Our parts, service, and body shop are open to serve you at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, Galliana Kia, and Alfa Romeo Maserati of Fort Myers. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42-month lease on Jeep, 36 months Kia, 10,000 miles per year, 0 due at signing, plus first month tax, tag, title, doc, and dealer fee, 0 security deposit with lender approval.
Shula's last teams, Mark, were so close. The 92 team, remember the Bills-Oilers playoff game?
Right.
Well, Well, the Bills ended up, they then go to Pittsburgh the next week. They beat Cowher and the Steelers, who were the number 1 seed that year. And then they go to Miami. And Jim Kelly playing in the Orange Bowl, or maybe it wasn't then. I think they were out of the Orange Bowl, but the Bills took care of the Dolphins. But if the Bills don't come back and beat the Oilers there, I mean, who knows? Maybe the 92 Dolphins go to the Super Bowl. Now, I mean, the Cowboys would have steamrolled them, but
we really care about improving people's lives.
93 team, I mean, they're 9-2 with Marino hurt. They're 9-2. And then the wheels fall off.
They're excited. We share in that excitement. It makes us feel great about
the 94 team had like a 21-3 lead in a playoff game. The defense couldn't get off the field. And they blow it to the Chargers. Marino drives them into field goal range in like 30 seconds. That's about all the time he had. And he completes 3 big passes, gets them into like 48-yard field goal range, and Stojanovic just choked it. Remember, what's his face, Vanderjagt? Remember that kick he had with the Colts?
Yeah, the shank.
Well, that's what Stojanovic did too. Just a total.
Special pricing, rebates, and free on-site evaluations. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls.
And if they win that game, they go to Pittsburgh to face Cowher and the Steelers. It would have been Marino returning to Pittsburgh in an AFC Championship game. They were close at the end.
All right, now we're getting somewhere.
This is
Pat?
Miller and Moulton.
Oh, Christ.
You're live.
Didn't get my minute.
$27 past the hour as we begin to turn for home on this Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo edition of Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at foxsportsfm.com, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton Twitch and YouTube channels. You can chime into the show on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text line, 479-5551. Our poll question today: which coach would you want coaching your team if you had to choose between Don Shula and Bill Belichick? We may ask Pat Kerwin that question as he joins us here, courtesy of Pinchers once again. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing fine, fellas. Nice setup question you got. There's no right answer.
No.
Okay.
No. Both tough. Tough but fair. And obviously, Bill, at 68 years of age, is closing in 4 to 5 years away from a record that many thought would never be reached. We'll see if he's able to continue coaching long enough to chase down Don Shula. But when you heard the news yesterday morning, we know your coach close, I should say, with Dan Marino. And just your thoughts as a lifelong football guy and as a guy who with the Jets for a long time going against Shula and the Dolphins there for a while, just your thoughts on Don Shula.
Well, I think there's traits, David, that come out. And we talked to a lot of people yesterday. I had Zonka on with me, Dick Anderson on, Joe Rose, Danny, of course. And so the more they described Coach from their view, it could have been the eulogy of Vince Lombardi. The traits, the demandingness. I mean, Danny talked about how hard he was on him all the time. And always and only on the field. Belichick's like this as well. A little sense of humor, mostly at the expense of some player that he kind of likes, but felt like, this will make everyone laugh. And then 10 seconds after his attempt at a joke, back to hard work. So no drifting away from the focus or any of that. So they all have that kind of trait. They can all make tough decisions. I felt like in talking to these guys, Zonka was great because he apparently got in enough trouble on a normal basis to be reprimanded regularly. And he told a funny story about how the two sides of Don Shula in one play, which was really quite funny. So he was on his way down the sideline as only the big bruiser would, and here comes the final tackler, but he's heading for out of bounds. So he said, what the heck? And he throws a giant forearm right in the guy's face and splatters him. And to hear Coach Shula, as it happens, going, that's the way you play the game. That's a hit. And 1 second later, the flag came out for illegal contact, and he immediately turned and said, you idiot, you stupid idiot. So we had those kind of conversations. You know, Joe Rose said, you know, I had a very unique relationship. Once when I was a player, I was just a guy, but he kind of counted on me and I could catch the ball. One year he had 29 catches. And he said, but I was always kind of like in the doghouse with Coach. And one day I invited my dad to practice. He was in town, and my dad was a lot like Coach, so I understood how that was going to go. I had asked permission, can my dad come to practice? He said yes. So Joe said, I had a particularly bad practice. I was ripped by the coach in front of the team. It was embarrassing. And right after practice, on my way to the locker room, I'm thinking, oh, my God, my dad saw all that. And he goes, well, Coach didn't come to the locker room. Coach went over to meet my dad on his own and basically conversed with his dad in the way that two guys from that generation could. And he said, by the time I got out to the car to go home, my father was calling me an idiot, too, because he saw it the way Coach saw it. So those kind of things were really enjoyable. I don't know if that's the right word yesterday, to hear all that. And Dan talked about the fiery fighting on the sideline with Coach. Joe Rose apparently was the guy that could imitate Coach. And Coach had two voices, he said, you know, and I remember this. I had the chance and the privilege, if you will, to be on the sidelines 12 times against Don Shula. And we went 6-6, which kind of is an achievement. But one of the reasons we won a couple of extra games I didn't think we should have won or were going to win was we were subjected to when he was going to break the record for wins. And I can remember the locker room like it was yesterday. Let's not be the team that he breaks the record for wins. And we played really hard and beat him one time. We should have had no right to beat him. But Joe said, and I knew this because I remember how it was, that Shula was brutal to the officials on the sideline, just absolutely brutal to them all the time. And he was on the competition committee, so they knew that some of their fates were in his hands. But apparently, after he would berate official 10, 15 times during the game, now the guy would ignore him, not even come over, and then Don would change his voice, which apparently Joe Rose could do, and the team would go crazy when he did it. But he would change his voice in this kind, gentle voice and lure the guy back over. He said it was kind of like fishing trip. You know, he'd lure him over, and as soon as he got close, he changed back to the tyrant voice and started screaming at the guy. So we had great fun reminiscing Coach's life, and I told a couple of short stories about even my own experience. I was just a coach 1 year in high school, and I happened to be visiting relatives in Florida, and then after dinner I decided everyone's sitting around, I'm just going to take a walk. And I took a walk, and there's a lit field, and I go down. I said, oh, something's going on. So I went down to this field. It was a Little League game, and there was one person in the stands watching the game, and it turned out to be Coach Shula. And I'm sitting next to him, and I knew enough about football. And I said something after a kid hit a ball or something. I said, hey, they're pretty good. And he turned and he said, yeah, that's my kid. And I looked up at his coach, and then we conversed for a while, which years later when I was in the NFL, he didn't remember it at all. But I'll never forget it because he was an interesting guy and loved football enough. If he felt, maybe this is the last thing I'll say, if he felt you loved football, you had an inside track to get to know him. If he didn't think you loved the game and knew how to pay the price to love it, you were nobody. You were just another guy who's walking around thinking football's for you.
Well, it is interesting to hear Pat talk about berating the officials because we just had Mike Westhoff on, and one of the things Mike said is that Don Shula knew the rule book backwards, forwards, and sideways. So you combine with the knowledge of the rule book and then getting all over the officials and being on the competition committee, I could see where referees might want to stay away from a Don Shula sideline.
Yeah. It was, I think it was an honor for Danny talked about it, being the fighting on the sidelines between the two of them. And Dan I said, come on, you're on satellite radio. You can say what you want. And he said, okay, I'll quote the coach then. And he quoted him. It was pretty funny. and I won't say it on this air, but he says, Dan said he knew exactly how to get under my skin and did it every day. And I knew Dan's father very well, and Dan's father was another guy who believed in Coach Shula and could do no wrong. So Dan could never come home and complain because Coach Shula and Mr. Marino would walk out of practice together, walk out of games together, and Dan had nowhere to go. There's no wiggle room. So Dan said, he just used to drive me nuts, and he'd say stuff to me in meetings. But Coach Belichick, we all hear it. He was the same way with Brady. Brady was the guy who took the brunt in the meetings because he's the big guy. And Dan said it happened to me all the time with Coach. But Dan stayed very close to Coach after they were done. In fact, he had Don doing Nutrisystem commercials with him, which was pretty funny. The guy who owns a steakhouse doing Nutrisystem commercials. You just think about that for a second, you can start laughing.
I'll take the lobster mac and cheese.
Right. Pat Kerwin joining us once again here on Miller and Moulton, doing so on the Goldberg New and Abraham Law Firm Hotline. Pat's weekly appearances brought to us courtesy of Pinchers. A few more locations able to open up as of yesterday. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. I'll just throw in this one anecdote that I heard yesterday, Pat, in which I guess it was a preseason game. And Coach Shula is really giving it to the official, and the official turns around and says, Don, relax. It's only 5 yards. And Shula yells at him, 5 yards is my life.
That's back. Well, I wouldn't give the coach's name away to that point right there. I wouldn't give my very close friend's name away yesterday, but we were playing them, and we were beating them going into halftime, and Don, with 30 seconds left, was still trying to pull out a rabbit out of a hat to get a touchdown before halftime. And there was a penalty, and it was against Miami. And so now we're walking in the tunnel. This is in Giant Stadium. I'll never forget it. And one of our coaches, who I'm very close to, and it's not named Pete Carroll, was ripping Don. Like, you see, you can't score, and you're still trying to. And now they're getting close to each other, like it's going to be fisticuffs in the tunnel. So I grabbed my guy. I don't know who grabbed Coach Shula, but they pulled him apart. And I'm walking my guy away, and I go, listen to me. That's Coach Shula. If he even knows your name, you'll never coach again in this league. So, try not to come out at halftime at the same time, for God's sake. Your career will be over. We had, those kind of things all the time. And, if you beat them enough, and we obviously didn't, but we were 6-6. And in those days, the Jets, the biggest game of their lives every year was the Dolphin game. You kind of felt like you did okay. And I said this to listeners yesterday. The guy was the king of trick plays. For all that, hard-nosed run game, and then in conversion to Danny in the passing game, that guy had trick plays, and I used to log them when I was in charge of their offense. And that's how Pete liked to do it. He liked to put one guy on a division team, and they were yours for your whole career. And so I had the Dolphins, and I had Shula, and I had a book. The thing was ridiculous. It was every trick play ever invented. And he would use one or two of them all the time. And Joe Rose told the funniest story. He said, yeah. I said, Joe, you were involved with the trick plays. Oh, yeah. He goes, we're getting ready. We could score a touchdown. We're about 25 yards out. It's the last play before half. And we're thinking, throw it up, and this guy will catch it. And no, Shula calls for a trick play. And he goes, we're in the huddle going, this damn thing has no chance. And it was a hook and ladder play. And don't you know they score a touchdown? He goes, we're all going in. He goes, yep, that's Shula for you. There we were doubting the guy. So that whole dimension of trick plays, always felt he needed one or two different ones in every game. So I used to say at the meetings, oh, here are all the trick plays, but I can't tell you. I guarantee he's not going to run any of the ones we're watching on film. He's going to run something else. But that whole side of him was very interesting to me. He just was going to create stress in 100 different ways on his opponent, let alone his own players.
Pat, when we kind of just try to encompass the whole thing, because obviously the coaching and you heard him not running on scripts and you heard the changing of the guard, is there something that you look at, because you could sit and talk about the guy's greatness. We could do 7-8 hours on it. Is there one thing that he gave to football or did for football that you think is more significant than any other?
Yeah, I think he learned and taught us all. Not all of us learned it, but we tried to teach everyone you can win in a lot of different ways, and you can win with discipline, and you can win, and you don't have to be a guy walking around with a playbook. That's what jumps out at me the most. So, and I know people have talked about this with you guys, but so there, as Zonka said, we were a big power run team. When Zonka was there, and remember, Zonka, Kick, and Mercury Morris and Greasy were all part of the Dolphins before Don got there. And they were 3-10, I think, the year before he got there. And so he goes in, and this is a Parcells experience for me, because Parcells comes to the Jets, a 1-15 team with no cap space to go get more players, and he turns that team into a winning team. He turns that team from the most penalized team in the NFL to the least penalized team in one season. So he goes into Miami, that being Shula, with that cast of characters. And basically Zonka said, from the very first time he spoke to us, Dick Anderson said it the same way. We knew, this is interesting to me, we knew we were going to be winners. You know, this is a bunch of guys that were losing. And in one meeting with this guy, he said, and he was coming off the loss to the Jets as the Colts coach. So here it comes, you know, got a credential, but he also just lost to the Jets, a game they were never supposed to lose. And he comes in here in one meeting, quote from Dick Anderson, we knew we were going to be winners. I think that's it. And he would win any way he could. So throw the ball. Remember when they won, when they were the 72 team that won, they were 40 runs, 20 passes is basically their ratio. He gets Dan Marino and it flips all over. So he could do it. Parcells, again. So he's got the Giants, David's team, and he's running power runs with Phil Simms and Otis and those guys. He goes up and he's got New England, he's got Bledsoe. And now he's throwing the ball more than anybody in the league. So these great ones don't live by a playbook. They live by a code. And then they know what it takes to win. So I think that's how I'll remember Coach Shula.
Pat, very quickly, schedule getting released Thursday night. Think any surprises, anything that we haven't already heard?
No, I think they got to have flexibility in it. You know, there's going to have to be contingency plans. I talked to a GM yesterday. I think a couple things are going to come out sooner or later. So that whole story about contingency plan without buys, how's the union going to deal with that? I think they have a 12, a 14, and a 16 game ready to go. The GM I spoke to yesterday shared the same opinion I have, that you should schedule the non-conference games early in case you got to dump them. But they also are talking about equipment. I don't think this will come out Thursday night. But you know the big face shields people are wearing in stores and around, and the doctors and the nurses are wearing? They're trying to develop something for the helmets now that would look like those face shields. I don't think that's going to be good enough to prevent the virus, but who am I?
Pat, as always, appreciate your time. Love the storytelling. You had a great show yesterday. I'm glad you shared some of it with us today.
My pleasure, you guys. Take care. Talk to you Friday.
Pat Kerwin, he of NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons with his co-host Jim Miller and part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us courtesy of Pinchers on the Goldberg, New and Abraham law firm hotline. 15 minutes before the top of the hour, the good, the better, and the best as we head for home on Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I saw where ESPN had a poll question today, and it was greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan or LeBron James. I go, nah, I don't think you do that today. That might not be fair to LeBron today. Or the next couple of weeks, the next couple of Mondays after this, don't do that. Not fair to LeBron.
Dan Patrick. The Dan Patrick Show. Weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio and FoxSportsFM.com.
We've got our good friend Tim Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples, on the phone. We're talking about their huge selection and great pricing on Core-Tec flooring. Tim, tell us what's new at the store.
Right now we have 90 colors of Core-Tec in stock, ready to go, pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Core-Tec that you have. You also have other Core-Tec products as well.
We also carry the Core-Tec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Core-Tec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Core-Tec wood. Look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floor Meisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
This is Brian Creel here with my son Trace from Creel Tractor Company. We are open for business and taking all precautions necessary. We have teamed up with Kubota Tractor offering curbside pickup for your parts and parts delivery. And the service department is open and ready to assist with any repairs here or at your location. Kubota is offering discounts on parts for all your Kubota products and no payments for 90 days on new products. Creel Tractor. Dig up a great deal at Creel.
Right now, get 0% financing and no payments for 90 days. Offer expires May 31st. Visit KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Creel Tractor since 1972.
Why would someone take a chance on purchasing a frameless shower door from a big box store or an online discounter of an obscure brand, and then try and find a licensed, qualified installer to put it in, when you can deal directly with a local, family-owned business that consults, measures, manufactures, and installs their own award-winning brand of shower doors? My Shower Door is a family-owned and operated business and has the highest ratings on Angie's List and Home Advisor. Want to see more? Go to myShowerDoor.com.
Listen to Miller and Moulton at home on your Amazon Alexa. Just say, Alexa.
Receiving. Over.
Play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn. We are Fox Sports!
Do you own a home with a tile or shingle roof? You live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island? Hello, I'm Jimmy Williamson with Williamson Brothers Roofing. If you answered yes to either question, it's very likely your roof suffered damage from Hurricane Irma that's not visible from the ground, and you may very well be entitled to a new roof for little or no money out of pocket. But you only have a 3-year window to make a claim, and time is running out. If you have a tile or shingle roof and live between Port Charlotte and Marco Island, call us. 239-283-2013. It's a free, no-obligation inspection that can benefit you in the form of a new roof. Williamson Brothers Roofing, we deal with the insurance carrier for you. Call us at 239-283-2013. Again, time is running out. Call us at 239-283-2013. Williamson Brothers Roofing specializes in the claims process. We have experts standing by. We get claims approved. 239-283-2013.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. We're still finding a lot of roofs with hurricane and windstorm damage. Call us today for a free inspection. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Heat pumps take heat out of the air.
Wow, Lebitard wrote a column for the Herald on Shula.
And you won't have panels on your roof. Special
Huh?
pricing, rebates.
I understand. When's the last time he's penned a column?
I'm sure he asked if he could, and they said sure.
The prescription is the Pool
But
Doctor
yeah.
for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Well, we've hit rock bottom.
Let me say something. Let me say something. I'm in a glass case of emotion.
You know things are really bad when Waffle House is closed and Mark Miller has a positive attitude.
Let's pump the brakes there.
With that being said, here's our brand new bright and shiny segment. Mark Miller's the good, the better, and the best. Man, I hope we get back to normal fast. This is weird.
Your life.
I'll tell you what, this would be the ugly normally because it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And right before this segment, David and I are having a little conversation, not even really much of one. I guess merely I said something to David, and we went back and forth for 10 seconds. My daughter, who was doing her schoolwork about 20 feet away, walked in, looked at me, then grabbed the door and shut it as she walked out because we were being too loud for her schoolwork. So Teacher Appreciation Week is not off to a great start in the Miller household. That is all I am. I mean, I'm expecting a golden apple around here, and I just got the, darn near the one finger salute.
I will say, if you stop talking about expecting a golden apple, you probably have a better chance of getting one.
Well, first off, I'm never getting one. I have the utmost respect for the job teachers do, and I am merely making fun of myself teaching during these times because
I will say that's not the first time she's closed the door on us. Just for the record.
No, and it won't be the last.
No, it won't be the last this week.
So she also has figured out how to control the thermostat because I get this sucker cold for the show.
Right.
And I walked out and I looked at the thermostat and it was up to 76. I set it for 73 for the show to keep it cool in here. She got too cold out 10 feet away. She adjusted the thermostat to 90. To 90. Like
90?
You don't have to go up that high, honey. 78 is enough.
Did you tell her you run hot?
She runs hot.
That's true. She's a Miller. You would think she knows. She runs
should
hot.
know better. I feel badly for her. We go to Texas for the good at the Frog in the Bowl in Austin, Texas. Man who has brought his family there to eat before came for dinner, left a pretty big tip. The check came for $337. The customer insisted that the server charge him double. He was unsure how to handle the unique request, so he got help from the owner, who verified that it was the customer who wanted the double charge. Then he tipped his server another $300 and added another $1,000 for the house. His check total came to $2,029. The owner says they were barely scraping by doing carry-out and delivery, and the extra money will help the restaurant get on track with its bills. He said he was just wowed by it. Very, very cool. We told the story of the Texas principal yesterday. Today, we go to Wisconsin, and teacher Paula Meyer teaches at Appleton North High School. Well, she likes to run, and races have been canceled, so she has new routes that take her past the homes of all of her students because she misses them. She ran over just 40 miles and visited 35 to 40 students along the way. She doesn't tell them she's running past their house to keep an element of surprise. Sometimes they come out to say hello or leave her water. And she says, I'm no Wonder Woman. I'm just somebody determined to put one foot in front of the other until I finish. I want them to believe that they can do whatever they set their minds to do. And lastly, for the best, we go to California, where an anonymous donor has showed their appreciation for medical workers at a California hospital. They've donated $1 million to the employees of the Dominican Hospital in Santa Cruz that will be given as bonuses. All employees, including nurses, cleaning staff, lab techs, medical records, and mailroom staff, security guards who have worked there for at least a year, will be getting a bonus. Full-timers are going to get $800, part-timers $600. The anonymous gift came with a note that reads, "Thank you for standing up and staying up to care for our community. This human kindness is what makes you heroic." And that, David, is the good, the better, and the best on this Cinco de Mayo in the longest year in the history of mankind, 2020.
Well, I was thinking about this over the weekend and especially on my walk yesterday. I mean, do you realize that 3 months ago today was the Tuesday after the Super Bowl? How long ago does the Super Bowl feel?
2015.
Now, the season and the NFL will announce their schedule on Thursday, and the expectation is it is going to start on time, or at least that's the schedule that they're going to release. How about if I put it that way, which means they would start the Thursday after Labor Day, which is September 10th. Well, that is still 4 months and a few days from now. So think about it, if the Super Bowl, which is literally 3 months and a couple days ago, well, the kickoff to the NFL season, if it starts on time, is 4 months and a few days from now.
Yep, it is. And, yesterday I think was met, and last week was met with a lot of optimism because things were starting to open. But by the end of the day, with different numbers that have been put out and then supported by our White House, I think today's a little different mood. I tend to get the feeling that we're a touch more apprehensive just 24 hours later than we were yesterday, David. And I don't know if you have that same feeling, but maybe it's because I watched a little more news than I had with everything opening up yesterday. But it certainly seems that across the board, on every news channel, they weren't as positive yesterday by the end of the day as they were in the morning.
Well, and the one thing that we brought up yesterday, it is one thing to say we are opening up. It is another thing entirely for people to go, oh, okay, then I'm going to go, which is why we asked the poll question that we asked yesterday. Every single pro sports league, in every survey that they've done, their fans are telling them, we want you to play, but we don't want you to allow us to come and watch.
Yep.
That is the consensus right now.
And that certainly seems to be something because, David, Korean baseball ain't going to get it done for me.
No, it is not. And if those that don't know what Mark is talking about, the Korean Pro Baseball League started up today, and ESPN might be showing up to 6 games a week.
ESPN worked out a deal yesterday with the Korean baseball organization to air their games. And there are some people that are giddy over the idea of being able to watch live sports, and I have zero interest. None whatsoever.
I do as well. Hopefully you have some interest in our poll question, which is of the two, and you have to choose. There's no wrong answer, but which one would you choose to coach your team, Don Shula or Bill Belichick?
Don Shula making a strong comeback from this morning when it was kind of a 2-1 vote in favor of the Patriot coach. We are now at about 44-56 as far as percentages go.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for listening. The Dan Patrick Show is next here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Thank you, Giro.
Guys have a good day.
Giro, you do the same. Thank you, my friend. Talk to you tomorrow. Twitch folks, YouTube folks, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.